What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with another episode of Off Our Brains. We're back, actually. Today we are going to get around to talking about some issues I've been seeing with the gaming community, video games, and what gaming companies are doing to the consumer when it comes to, paywalls and pay-to-play structures and, adding details and things that are supposed to be part of the game and making you pay for it. You know what I mean? Making you pay for it in addition to your purchase. Then finally, we are going to get into ripping a new one into the Transformers franchise. Call it hating it, call it boredom, call it whatever you want. I feel like it would be fun. We're going to get some, we're going to kind of start the course down that road with a brief kind of an overview on what it is we have problems with and why we want to rip those films, why they deserve the criticism, and why after so long there's been no evolution, and then, in subsequent episodes we'll get on to, attacking the individual films as films. So as usual, I will have my homeboys Clarion Prime and Agent O, and we're going to get into it. So here it is. Cool. So the main things we're going to talk about, just this is for the audience so they know what we're going to try to get into, is gamers kind of, they've, in some ways, unknowingly they failed themselves by allowing pre-order culture and DLC and pay-to-play shit to become the norm. It's something that's like, we're seeing it a lot. It's kind of what's turned me off as far as like buying a lot of games. Because like I have a PS4 and I have a bunch of games and I hardly play them because like some of them do, and actually two of them involve, I can buy stuff for them, but I'm not really interested in buying anything for them. I already paid a shitload, for stuff in Rainbow Six, but besides that, I'm just like, I don't really see the point to buying all this stuff when I could have just unlocked it. You know what I mean? Like, that's a practice that should have never went away. Then the other thing is we're going to talk about, we're finally going to do it. We're going to start ragging on Transformers, the film franchise. So if you like Transformers, then this is not the episode for you. You know what I mean? Don't listen. Don't even bother trying to curse us out in the comments because we're not stopping. It's gonna hurt your feelings.
Just fast forward.
Yeah. or just after we talk about gaming, turn it off.
Because
that's what's gonna happen.
There will be no light in that once we start talking about Transformers, none whatsoever. So
I know we're going pitch black.
I know, right? Midnight. Oh my god! But yeah, because there's a lot to talk about, man. Like this last night bullshit, just it hurts. It doesn't even hurt as bad as it did. The original couple films did, but just the fact that you're seeing that they literally are not even trying. They literally took an episode. It looks like they're taking an episode from the old school 80s cartoon that happened to have knights. They're taking elements from actually a couple episodes, but mainly that one. And they're just pasting that into their universe. And it doesn't even fit. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense with all the shit that we've been seeing in the previous films. Not that they're like a tour de force or some shit, but, it's just, I can't, I shouldn't say I can't. I understand why, but it's just painful to see that's the case. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So with the games thing, let's talk about. Well, first, do you guys have any other stuff going on you want to like throw in since it's been a while? I mean, shit, it's on.
I actually wanted to walk back something I said in the last Off Our Brains.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we were talking about Star Wars, and I went back and watched that Yoda fights. Actually, I watched both Yoda fights from the movies, and they're actually not as bad as I initially thought they were. For some reason, in my mind, I remembered Yoda just twirling around like a whirling dervish or something the whole time, and I was like, "This is." For some reason, that's all I remembered, and that totally wasn't the case. Yeah. But it also brought up like a new gripe about Star Wars. Yeah. Well, like we talked about it a little bit before, but like how do you there's no way for us to really gauge how powerful some of these people are, because like if Yoda's supposed to be really powerful, why was he struggling pillar from falling on Anakin and Obi-Wan? And then when he was fighting Darth Sidious and they were throwing those Senate chairs at each other, you know, they both looked like they were struggling. Yeah. But then, like, if you go to, like, if you watch, like, the trailer for Force Awakens, no, not Force Awakens, I'm sorry, for
Force Unleashed.
Yeah, dude just brings down an entire fucking starship. Like, those things are ginormous, and he pulls it out of the sky with the Force. So, like, where is the gauge for all this shit?
I know, you have to read all that extra shit that doesn't count anymore. And that's why I can't stand Star Wars, because, like, nothing matters. It's all bullshit unless you're just a super fan and you just consume it all, you know? I'm like, I don't, ain't nobody got time for that. So...
and that does make me mad, too, because... Like, one day I was on Imager at work because I was just bored out of my gourd, and I happened to come across, like, a Star Wars dump, and it had all these images and descriptions of the lightsabers and how they work, and people go about getting crystals, and they made an explanation for, like if you want a different colored crystal than the blue and green, then you had to go to, like, some of the more jacked up parts of the universe or planets where it's like super hostile. Exactly. And it's also a testament of how good of a Jedi you are if you're able to get, you know, a different colored crystal from one of those other places. That's why Mace Windu is so up there.
Yeah.
And then they talk about they also had, like, they listed all the different fighting styles, because I guess, you know, there's 7 of them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm reading through all the descriptions of the styles, and I'm like, damn, this shit should have been in the movies. It should have been in the Clone Wars TV series in some way, shape, or form to help expand on all that. Mm-hmm. Instead of me having to read it, novels or wherever it originally showed up in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they talked about, like, each after they talked about each style, they told you, like, one of the famous Jedi or Sith that was experienced in that style, and you, like, Mace Windu is a fucking badass because he knows the 7th style, which is the most violent. You have to know all the other previous styles in order to use it, and most Jedi don't use it because it gets them too close to the dark side, which I guess explains why he was just straight up murdering people in the movies when he killed Jango Fett. He just lopped his fucking head off and it was over.
It's because he was Sam Jackson. That's why. Fuck the Force and shit. It was because he was Sam. He transcends whatever medium. He's just badass because that's how he was born. Like,
and so they tell you, like, him and Darth Maul are, like, well renowned for being masters of that style. So then I'm like, well, then how in the fuck did he die, quote unquote die? Because I personally still think he's alive. Sam Jackson has been, like, he's put out videos saying, in my mind, Mace Windu is still alive. And he points out reasons that make sense. It gets into conspiracy theory territory because, you know, the story is not written, but the points he makes hold water because you've seen other Jedi fall from great distances and survive and lose limbs, like Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker fell off of Cloud City and lived. Think about it. That motherfucker fell far. Fell hella far and lived. So how did Mace Windu not survive?
Yeah. These are all things that, like I said, inconsistency, and this is why I'm not a big Star Wars person. But yeah, I see how this stuff it would bother someone. If you watch a film and you pay attention to what's being said, then, you know, like, or what's being shown to you and what's being said and how all these pieces play together into the whole, you know, this shit will bother you unless you just consume it all and you don't think about what you're consuming. Because a lot of people don't, you know, until you bring this stuff up, they don't really think about it, or they happen to have read the book that gives the real, lame ass explanation for some shit that you saw that was unexplained for like, 20 years or something, and somebody said, you know what, this is going to be my little chunk of the Star Wars universe. I'm going to explain this little inconsistency here. And it's like,
yeah, there probably is some kind of explanation, but I think, yeah, that's bullshit.
It is bullshit. But I don't know.
There's like mad conspiracy theories just about Force Awakens. I guess a lot of people think that Finn is a Jedi, and that when Snoke talked about there was an awakening in the Force, they were actually talking about him and not Rey, because you don't see Rey actually awaken to her Force powers until well after he says that. And like somehow this just led me down this rabbit hole of these YouTube videos where this guy kind of chronicles all this.
That's because you
all
care.
The conspiracy theory shit. I mean, I was at work and I was fucking bored.
Yeah.
So I just started watching all this shit, and I do want to see Finn be a fucking Jedi.
It's not. I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't think so either. But it'd be cool if it did.
Yeah.
The way they explained it, like if that's the case, then it makes me look at that whole movie in a light. Because there's all these little hints that if it's actually what they were trying to do, actually makes that movie better, considering that it just looks like a reboot of A New Hope.
Yeah.
But if they threw in all these other little elements in there that they point out in the video I watched, I'd be like, damn, this actually makes this movie even better.
Yeah, I agree. If that stuff is true.
Yeah, I doubt it, but it'd be cool if it was.
What about you, Scott? Any things that you've noticed or you came across that you want to throw out? It is off our brains, so we can just go off, and into that territory.
I'll let you know if anything comes up. My conscience is clear for now.
He's focused, man. Okay. Well, so let's jump into this game shit. This DLC bullshit. So. For the younger gamers out there, because it seems to be that the gaming public is very well divided between like the young cats and like the old heads like us, and we're not even that old, but we're older than the younger guys, and we were old enough to remember how this stuff worked, how it evolved, how what was there and shit back in the day, and some of it isn't even really back in the day, just like less than a decade ago. And all of a sudden, the companies have figured out how to cash out on just gamers who can't wait, who don't have patience, who they got to prove on YouTube or on fucking, Xbox Live that you're the quote unquote greatest gamer of all time. So you got to have the best skin for your gun. You got to have the best, the rare skin for your character or some bullshit. You got to get as much EXP as you can get, but you can't earn it. You have to pay for it so you can get it faster than everybody else. Like they've learned how to hone in on that market and exploit the fuck out of them, and it's to all of our detriment. So like games that shouldn't have shit, that you shouldn't have things locked, that are standard pieces of a game, are now being sold to you as DLC, or they're being locked until you pre-order and then they give it to you as a bonus. Games are adding what they call the whole free-to-play system, where they try to say stuff like, they've been doing this for a while, so I'm not saying this like for those smartasses that will say, oh, you just realized this shit's happening. No. I'm saying like this has been a thing, and it's slowly getting worse. Where in order for you to hang with, say you buy a game that's been around for a couple months, or a year, and you missed out on it when it first came, and people are playing online, and there's some kind of competitive element. Now you can buy your way up to the level that the other people are at, which is fucking lame. Just so that you can quote unquote compete, as opposed to the game being well balanced, so that if you've learned the fundamentals, you can easily earn your way up to that point, or you can easily just hang with those folks instead of having stats on your profile that say that you're at that level. because we come across high level people. I've done it in Street Fighter. I've done it in Tekken. I've done it in Rainbow Six. People who are like level 99 elites and can't shoot worth shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
People on fucking Street Fighter 4 back when we actually gave a damn, and you know, they've had hundreds and hundreds of ranked matches, and they can barely link combos. Their reaction time is shit. You know, they pick Ken because they can't do anything with anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, or Sagat. And that's essentially why they win their matches. You know, they had a character with an advantage. They don't have the skill to actually defend against every character with that, you know, OP'd character. But it's just, it's getting to a point where it's stupid. The latest example of this is you have Tekken, a fighting game, who never had this problem. Harada was like against this shit, and the only exception we had previously was Tekken Revolution, where the whole game was like free to play, I guess, or you know, fee to play or whatever they call it. And
free to pay, you mean?
Yeah,
it's like pay to win, fee to pay.
Yeah.
That's pay to win.
pretty much. Yeah. And then now with Tekken 7, there's a season pass. The season pass will give you a bunch of other stuff that was standard in the previous games. You get access to, like, if you pre-order it, you get access to one character, and she won't be an unlockable character as far as we know. You have to pre-order or buy the deluxe suck your dick edition. You know what I mean? Like you can't just, it's not a time release character. You can't just beat the game on ultra super bend you over hard. Like, no, you literally have to pay extra money for them to give you a character who's kind of inconsequential to the franchise, but this version of the character is the first time that she is part of the official Tekken canon. And that's Eliza. I think her name is Eliza. She was the vampire that was in you know, Revolution, which this is kind of like, really? So for all of us who were behind Harada all this time, now Namco wins that debate about how to get more money out of the fans. There's like 4 versions of the game for you to buy, which is like, what, really? The special edition in Europe and the special edition here in the US are different games. They're like different packages, I guess is what I'm saying. Like you get different perks for both. Whereas if you could, you may as well just, the US one is the better perk, but or better bunch of perks. So if you could, even the European people will try to import the US version. Why not just make one version all across the board? I mean, like, so much stupidity when it comes to this, but it's gonna work because this is the culture that they've trained. You know what I'm saying? Nintendo. People always look at Nintendo and say Nintendo is like the last traditional company. Like, you know, they usually don't follow the trends that everybody else follows, you know? And with their new Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, the hard mode is hidden behind some kind of pay feature. Either it's pre-order or it's I think it's pre-order. So you pre-order it and then you get access to the hero mode, which is their super hard mode.
I imagine at some point it's probably gonna come on their the, you know, live or PSN site to be able to for purchase at some point.
I bet they'll have to, because it's such a staple of games for you to have, you know, easy or super very easy, normal.
Yeah, that's just,
it's stupid.
It's a standard ass feature.
Yeah.
That's the worst marketing move ever. I'm sorry, especially for a DLC, which is already shitty.
Which people are still gonna pay for it though. That's the problem. Like, few people, so few that it doesn't even register. So few people are actually voting with their wallets and saying, like, fuck this shit. You're not gonna sell me. Like, how is it that Witcher 3 can offer all the DLC for free? How can they
it's deep and it's actual quality DLC.
Exactly. Like, enough that it could possibly have been separate games. And they don't offer it to you as like 100 different DLCs that you got to pay an arm and a leg for or something. They don't keep on, like, essentially they treat everyone like they respect their fan base, and then the fan base in return keeps buying and talking about their product because the product is quality, and they keep on growing and growing and growing, and this mutually beneficial partnership, it's good. I mean, it's good for everybody because it's mutually beneficial. No one's being screwed in the process. I don't understand why more people aren't looking at this stuff. It's like they got to get it now. I gotta have this shit because I'm the best gamer ever type bullshit. You know what I mean? Like the mentality is so weird because when you really think about
think
it,
people do, but then because like the same people that buy The Witcher will turn around and buy other games and then just fall into that pre-order pay structure or whatever it is.
What I'm saying
you know,
is
the
like
pre-order mentality, which blows because
they're
apparently
attention.
aware of the dick raping. They just let it happen anyway, which I don't get.
I feel like they're just used to it. That's why I always say brainwashing. It's like
they got Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. Like
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to call it too. You just get so used to a particular feature. The more you hear about it, the more it becomes normal.
Yeah.
When it starts with, it probably started with, I don't think it was like consciously like, we'll do it in mobile and then we'll bring it over, but they saw it happening in mobile.
It was conscious. It was conscious because EA, remember, who was it? Whoever the CEO of EA CEO was at the time was talking about how they've seen the success of the free to play or fee to play structure or whatever. So, with mobile, and they wanted to adapt that to their annualized franchises or IPs or whatever. So, like, they have all that shit going on in everything now.
I think that was Riccatello. I think that may have been John Riccatello doing that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, and then
it's too much. it's just, I don't know. These are all things for me personally why I'm not as interested in this generation of games, because I just keep on spending money and I'm not getting higher quality shit like Rainbow Six Siege. There's a video on YouTube. I'm gonna look for it, I'll make sure I write down so I remind myself so I can put it in the description. There's this badass video. It's not badass, but it's like really on point video where this dude puts the side-by-side comparisons of all the games that we were promised one thing and then we got something that was downgraded from what we were promised. I mean, of course he had Watch Dogs.
Ubisoft games.
What's up?
They said all Ubisoft games.
Pretty much. It was like 95. Pretty much. It was bad, man. Like they showed what Rainbow Six Siege looked like when they first announced it, and then what we got, it's like it's pretty different. Like they showed Watch Dogs, of course. They go through and they show you a whole bunch of games, and you're thinking, wow, they could like The Division was funny. Like
it's black. It's like night and day.
Yeah, man, it was funny. But just the map, like when you turn on your map so you can see, where your next waypoint is or whatever. In the trailer, it was like this cool topical map that was all like, real-time holographic map that popped up and you see buildings and blah blah blah. Man, in the actual game, it's just geometric shit going on. Like
that downgrade actually worked for the game, because when I saw the comparison, I was like, damn, that shit is too much. Like it's simpler in the actual game to to see everything and to move around and all that. So I actually dug the downgraded version more than what they showed in the fucking trailers.
I don't know. It just, from a graphic perspective, it's still like piss poor.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful as fuck.
Yeah. But just seeing what they promised, like Siege was so different, and then because I like Rainbow Six so much, I've watched so many videos and listened to so many people hype this game up. They're literally stroking this shit, holding the balls up and everything, and you're just like, seriously, guys,
cradling the nuts.
You know what I mean? Stroke the shaft, just cradle the balls. Like, it didn't make any sense. I'm like you guys are really reaching. Like the fact that people will say it's it's not the Rainbow Six you remember, and that's their selling point. And they're convincing you that that's the right way to look at it. A franchise separates itself by having unique features. And usually certain franchises that have been around for a long time, they cement themselves with the unique features. You know what I mean? Like Mario needs to jump with his fist above his head so that he can uppercut shit that's above his head. You know, like that's Mario. He's going to sit on shit like he always has done, or bounce off of things, you know, kick fucking turtle shells. Like these are all mechanics that only exist in Mario. Other games have tried to copy it, but they came from this game. They originated here. Fucking Metroid, since so many people love Metroid. If you see Master Chief turn into a ball and start rolling around somewhere, you know they ripped off Metroid because that was specific to Metroid, you know? Hadoukens and shit, you know, it's very specific to Street Fighter. Other games, characters have projectiles, but if they do it in the same manner that Ryu and Ken and all the Shotos do it, then they're biting off of Street Fighter. It's pretty obvious, you know? And there's a whole bunch of other shit we could go on and on forever, but it's like, these are things that make your game your game. It's what makes it stand out. Rainbow Six was all about being tactical, moving quickly between cover. You know, it was a cover-based shooter. All of a sudden, that's out. That's gone. They were like, "Fuck it." We wanted to play kind of like Call of Duty. Even the basic logic
layout.
Like no, the logic of the game. Like why would you have smoke grenades and no thermal goggles? Like the whole point of you carrying smoke grenades is to obscure their vision, not your own. And they make it like it's a big deal because, you know, he has smoke to cover his escape. But if he can't see where the fuck he's going, you know, like if you have to memorize the whole board first before you ever pop the smoke, this kind of sucks because on the fly you don't have any advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of at a disadvantage when you're playing on the fly. I mean, after you learn every nook and cranny of the stage, then I guess it won't matter. But just imagine if we had the setup that we have in Vegas 2 in, you know, Siege with all the new weaponry and the new stuff that they added. Some of the new shit they added is old weaponry in Vegas 2. Like Glaz has a sniper rifle, and for him to put the long range scope on, the ACOG scope, that's his special thing. It's like, what? And they're selling it to you. Like,
yeah, I was watching a video of that, and I was like, wow, that's
it's booty. That's
cool. If it wasn't a special ability, if that just came with the gun.
Exactly. It's just booty. But this is how they sell stuff to people, and for whatever reason, it feels like nobody is being savvy enough to just be like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like in this game, I had all this customization ability. I could pick the rounds. I could pick what kind of scope I want. I could pick what kind of buttstock I want. We have some of those options in Siege, but we don't have all of it. We should, you know, like, I don't know. What were you
if they took the gun customization from Future Soldier and put it in that game, that would make the game so much better.
Mm-hmm. I agree. The weaponsmith, that would be awesome.
They didn't even type what was when Rainbow Six first went to this style of play. What was that? Black Arrow or Rainbow Six 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even there was backlash obviously because it used to be like, you know, you point and click your guys to set them up, and then like, you know, you go on Zulu, you come up with your plan, you throw in the flashbang, you tell these people to eliminate whoever. It was a lot of planning, not a lot of you sitting inside one guy and kind of playing the missions that way.
Yeah.
And when the game started to be developed with that play style, it wasn't like, oh, well, this isn't like, you know, the Rainbow Six you remember. Exactly. Like they didn't pitch it like that. It was a new direction, but you know, there wasn't like, you know, the whole like, forget everything you used to know.
Yeah.
So to say that like forget everything that like we've been playing for years now, they've been doing the Vegas style or the whatever, that style of Rainbow Six Games for a while now with the cover and with, you know, the way that it's set up, to just like flat out abandon that now.
Yeah, it's weird. and now
it's weird.
It feels homogenized. I mean, people don't get it. It's like you're getting less every time you allow for a company to feed you some BS. Like Rainbow Six now plays like a little bit slower Call of Duty, like 2 or 3, Modern Warfare 2 or 3, without the things, you have damage, like procedural damage, I guess, with your, the backgrounds and shit, the maps or whatever. But it's not like Stranglehold, where you could literally like blow up the whole fucking stage. Like if you had infinite tequila time, you could just fucking get a shotgun and blow all the walls out of everything, and the building will fall down around you. Like that's not what we have in this, but you can pretty much put holes in stuff. Essentially, that's really what it boils down to, and that's really it. You run, you jump. I mean, you can't jump like when there's nothing there. You can jump when you come up to something. So that's a difference. But like, that's what you do. You just run around, you peek, you have the little gun tilt thing, and that's it. But they're selling it to you like they really are giving you the Rainbow Six experience, and that's not Rainbow Six. Now they've because it's Rainbow Six, people are doing the team thing because it's encouraged, because you'll die if you get hit once. But like, on the surface, just as is, before you start playing the game the way that the old games were played, because we could play any shooter like that, where we, check our corners and, we call out our shots and we, let people know we're throwing a grenade, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, we could be careful like that in fucking Doom. You know what I'm saying? It's just, that's not how you're supposed to play Doom, But Rainbow Six, like, this is specific to Rainbow Six. That's the culture of the people who played the game. A lot of the old heads that I know that like got me into playing Rainbow Six don't even acknowledge this game. They were like, nope, It's not Rainbow Six. I'm not playing it. We'll keep playing Vegas. So like when you talk to these newfangled guys, they're all like, this is what it is now. No, you don't have to accept that that's what it is now. You can just not buy it. All those other games, like the way people dissed Battleborn, I think it was, and they embraced Overwatch. You could do the same thing with this. You know what I mean? Or the way people hated Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and that one somewhat boggles my mind because I don't understand why this one stands out so much more than all the shit that they've been doing beforehand. But
hey, man.
Everybody's like, oh, it sucks. It doesn't look like it sucks. It just looks like you chose to hate this game for whatever the reason is, like I don't get it. Now,
and with Call of Duty especially, they all basically play the same since the last like 5 years. So I can't really understand what sucks about it. If you're able to do everything you're able to do in the previous ones, only now you've got different weapons that do different shit, or sometimes certain weapons have like there's like you can get like an assault rifle, sniper rifle combo.
Yeah. The secondary fire.
Now you've got 3 guns in one, as opposed to having 2.
Yeah.
Cool little shit like that. Like I played Infinite Warfare. I still haven't really played the campaign. I was playing the multiplayer, and it's actually fun, but I suck, so I don't do that well. But
I've been playing it since 2006, so don't feel too bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it feels everything feels refined and polished. So I don't know what it is that people dislike so much about the game.
People have been saying,
other than the fact that it takes place in space and it's sci-fi. What more can you do with World War II and World War One and the Civil War?
They're going back to that. I'm
like, why? What more can you tell?
Yeah,
like they have to, because it's like, unless you're just gonna do. I mean, come on, man. They had like an entire continent attack. Freaking like South America is attacking North America.
Which is fucking stupid. Which is
all of South America.
Yeah.
Even the countries that dislike each other somehow banded together because America was that much of a threat.
Exactly.
The fuck out of here.
That's David Goyer for you.
Here with that, when you're at that point, it's like, yeah, I guess that's when, like, go to space. And even when you go to space, like, who are you fighting? Like Brits and Aussies, basically.
It's just
still fighting you're still fighting people with accents, so you know who the bad guys are.
Exactly. And all the minorities get murdered. It's weird to me that, like, the things that they choose to fight, you don't fight the shit. And we talked about this a long time ago. It's probably one of the first ones we did, where it's like the nerds band together to fight inconsequential shit. But then when it was when SOPA and all that shit was going on.
Oh yeah, I did that video and that nobody watched.
when something really threatens us, nobody does anything. You know what I mean? But when they change your beloved character, when your favorite character is no longer in the game, fucking change.org all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys, or you're boycotting the game altogether. I just don't get the mentality that allows for these things to happen. Like, you should understand after a while that you're paying more money, and you're getting less. I mean, if games still cost $60 or more, how can the game not have all the shit in it? That doesn't make sense. If last generation you paid $60 and DLC and shit was mostly optional, why is it okay for it not to be that way now? Why do you need... I know there were a couple games where you had to buy the DLC in order to get a 100%, the platinum trophy to say you were done. You beat everything in the game. But, like, those were few and far in between on the last generation. Now, it feels like everything is like this. I mean, there's certain games like Uncharted and like Ratchet and Clank and maybe The Last Guardian. I don't know yet. I have it, but I'm afraid to play it because I'm like, man, this is going to suck me in and I'm going to be pissed at the end. But I'm sure there's games where you don't have this problem. But the majority of what we get, this is the way it's sold to us. And I can't support it, man. I just can't.
The truth of the matter is, like, if it just costs, if you need to sell a game for $150 to make it back, then just tell us that's what needs to happen.
Exactly.
Don't try to hide it and say, well, we're going to still sell the game for $60, and then we're going to give you a $30 season pass, and then we're going to sell like outfits for $3 each, and then we're going to sell another level for $20, and then we're going to, like, why can't? Because at some point, I'd probably raise this to point in another video or something. At some point, when you're developing the game, you're thinking of all of these things. It's like, so you sit here and you say, all right, fine, what are we putting out with the base game? Yep. I guarantee you that the phrase that's uttered in every boardroom every time a game is being pitched.
Yep, the base. Yep.
We're gonna have the.
Go ahead, sorry.
It's like there's opportunities for like literal advancement. Again, like we remember because we're old heads. I remember back when PC games, when you used to have to go to like a store and buy them on a disc.
Yeah, and it was the whole game.
Yeah, and then later on they would release an actual expansion pack.
Exactly.
That you paid real money for, but it gave you actual new worthwhile content that added to the whole without making it feel like a piece that was missing.
Exactly.
We played a game like Warcraft or some RTS, like, okay, this one adds a new campaign and a new faction and some new units for all the existing factions. Again, the game is complete without this.
Yep.
But it's worth, you pay money for this extra bit, completely worth your while. Now it's like, hey, you could get some extra clothes for this person, or you can get an extra gun. I'm like, why isn't all that in the game?
Yeah, that's why I laugh at gamers now, because I remember back before they released the PS4 and the Xbox One, even before all the controversy with the DRM on the Xbox One, saying that, oh, we should totally go digital because they'll lower the prices of games. They're going to do it. I'm like, no, there's no guarantee they're going to lower the price of the games. Exactly. And the price didn't lower, but they found new ways to charge you. So essentially, you're still paying money for. You're still paying more than $60 for a full game. They just repackaged it in a way that all right up front. But I mean, you're paying upwards of $120 for some of these games and more, depending on
how much shit you buy,
on whether it's Capcom or not. You know,
pretty much.
They're not going to lower the price of digital games for the same reason.
Exactly. The digital games didn't. You're not getting digital games cheaper anyway. You're still paying the same price.
And it's for the same reason for what we're talking about before. It's like you're already used DLC.
Yeah.
You're already used to paying $60 for a full game. So guess what? On a digital marketplace, full game will still be $60 because that's what you're used to paying.
And they have no incentive to lower it because they know you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
No, most people aren't going to raise the logical argument. They're going like, hey, you know, you're eliminating production and distribution and you know, sales to like and retail cut.
Exactly.
No reason why this product should still be $60.
Yep.
None
whatsoever. But like you said, no one's saying anything, so why not? Why not?
Like people are going to do exactly what you let them get away with. I guess that's the point, which we're going to beat video, but that's the point of it. They're only going to do what they know they can get away with.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to pay for DLC, if you're willing to pay for passes, they will continue to ask you to do so.
Yeah.
They will, and their job is to get your money. Yeah. So they will make it seem like a really great deal. Look at all the things you're getting. Look at all the stuff that's coming down the road. I don't even know if I like the game I bought.
Yeah, because
you think I'm going to pay more based on something that's coming a year from now?
Exactly,
maybe.
Exactly, and it's like before, like number one, they have the audacity to charge you offer you multiple versions of a game that might be a new IP that could fail. It hasn't been like, how do you have a platinum edition or a you know, suck your dick edition, but we don't even know if the game is worth it yet. Like if it's a good fun game yet. Like usually special editions come after the game goes platinum. You know what I mean? Like that's how it used to be. The game proves itself. It sells so many copies within the first, I don't know, year. And then the next year, there'll be a special version of it. Or within that year, there'll be a special version. But they hold it until it hits a certain profit margin or whatever. Now, it's like, nah, every game has a special edition. Just every game outright. You know, like, why? What if you're not slick like that? Like, what if the design in the game is not that cool that we want that big, stupid statue you got in a box with the game? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just... But no one's thinking like that, you know? There's so many games that I saw come out when I was working for GameStop. In the 10 years plus that I worked for GameStop, there were so many games back then, up to the between the PS2 and the PS3 era, that they had special editions, and no one bought the special edition. Or people only pre-ordered the special edition, and then opening day, they traded in all the special edition shit, and they only kept the game. Like Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, I remember the special editions for those games, all the Batarangs coming back, and the freaking Batarang that stuck to the stand. I remember it coming back. I remember getting, what was that one? Dante's Inferno. I remember we had tons of the special edition swag. We still had it because... nobody picked it up. I got my Dante for free because we were just like, whatever, you know. My boss was like, yeah, we're going to throw all these out. I'm like, well, I'm going to keep one. He's like, yeah, go ahead, keep it. Like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's between throw it out and, you know, yeah, might as well just grab yourself a copy.
And these were like NECA figures, you know. These were the NECA figures. They're full-on NECA, because NECA later on sold a carded version or a blister, you know, packaged version in Toys R Us. It was real short-lived too. It wasn't out for a very long time. But this was the pack-in, you know, along with the DVD with the animated film. And a lot of people kept that stuff. Some people just didn't even bother. But a lot of people paid for their special edition. Shit, there were so many special editions that people paid for and never picked up that it was ridiculous. You know, like folks, I told you guys, the guy who I even was hired when I came back to GameStop, the guy they hired me back to replace was stealing, he was canceling those pre-orders and pocketing that money because there were so many of them. I don't understand why people with games are just so like lackadaisical when it comes to their money. You know, like you spend $100 on something, you should remember where you put that $100. You know, you should come back and be like, I need to collect what I fucking paid for. But I mean, it didn't matter if it was fucking SpongeBob or Barbie's fucking Horse Adventures or fucking Call of Duty or Guitar Hero or something. These motherfuckers would pre-order everything, special edition, and they pay for it like way in advance and just never come back for it. So dude was pocketing hundreds of dollars, probably thousands of dollars, you know, at one time, so that he could, you know, do whatever he was doing with it, whatever, you know, with all that fucking money. But I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand how that's the mentality. It's almost like the folks buying all this stuff just have money to burn, and that's why they get away
pretty
with
much. They got disposable incomes, or they're spending their parents' money.
Yeah. I mean, it's called disposable income, but I didn't think you would actually throw it
away. Literally. You know?
It's like, because that's literally what it is. It's like, and it's not like, you know, they pre-ordered. Maybe they did pre-order a bunch of copies at other places, but I assume you're talking about people that paid for the game in full.
Oh yeah, they paid in full. Ugh, excuse me, sorry. Yeah, they paid in full and then just never came and picked it up.
Adam,
I don't get it.
Like, I'm definitely picking that game up. Like, I don't care what it is. I don't care what I've heard between when I put that money down to it actually being released. I'm like, I paid for it.
Yep,
I'm going to get it.
Yep. I agree, but yeah, it's something that people need to work on. There is a channel, and I mentioned it before we started recording. It's a channel on YouTube called Pretty Good Gaming. They're the ones who broke the story, at least as far as I know. They broke the story about the Breath of the Wild having the hard mode being offered to you as a perk if you pre-order the game. And they canceled their pre-order because they're like, that's bullshit, because Nintendo never did that kind of stuff. One of the two guys, the two hosts, canceled his pre-order. And, you know, like I said to you guys, I mean, he could possibly have another pre-order, but if you're going to buy the game and they're going to do that bullshit to you, it does make sense for you to just be like, fuck it, you know? I'll learn about it after the fact when that pre-order shit is no longer in effect, and I can just get the whole game. Because, you know, even if you're not going to play it on hard, it still should be part of the game. You shouldn't have to do anything extra to get that. And there's going to be a bunch of people, you know, a bunch of self-entitled fucking, you know, twats that are going to complain about the fact that we're pointing this out, you know, that, nah, I'm going to pay for it because blah, 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 whatever dumb reason they come up with. And it is dumb. You know, fundamentally, it's broken. It's a very broken way to do business with people. It's literally like selling me a new car with 3 of the 4 windows actually installed into the fucking car. Like, it's new, but yeah, you're going to have to buy this 4th window, you know, it's going to be extra. But it's supposed to be there. Nah, it's extra. You know what I mean? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Or the next thing you know, they're going to fucking have you buy DLC in order to play as the main character in the game.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like, doesn't make any sense. I mean, think about the fighting games that they've released where you only have 3 characters to start and you literally have to buy the roster of characters. Like, are you fucking kidding me? As awesome as Killer Instinct was, the new one, why did you need to buy all the characters? I mean, I know then they offered like a season pass for each season because they literally had each, instead of Killer Instinct 1, Killer Instinct 2, and Killer Instinct 3, they had Season 1, 2, and 3. So you would buy a season worth of characters, so each season you had whatever the amount was. But still, why are you buying the characters? You know, like, that's the strength of your fighting game. The characters and the engine, that's it. Why are you buying this shit? Like, why are you having to buy it separate? I don't know. And the fact that so many people saw it and said, I want to play this, so I don't care what the delivery system is. I'm going to pay for it. You fucked everybody because you vote with your wallet and say, I'm not going to stand for that shit. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know. Maybe it's old age talking. I don't know, but it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. It will not make sense to me.
I wouldn't say it's old age. It's one of those things. It's brand loyalty and just people are more delusional than ever. You know, they'll find any reason to justify whatever it is to fit their thought process. I mean, our fucking election is proof of that shit.
Oh my god, I was thinking the same thing. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what you tell people or no matter how you show them, you know, you can show them facts, examples, details, and specifics, and they'll still find a way to say, "Nope, I'm going to supply my own alternative facts."
They will do mental gymnastics to make, like to support their belief.
Yeah.
In contrary to, like, you know, evidence in front of your face.
Yeah.
But also think about this too. You don't know, and we don't know, and game companies don't know when this is going to actually stop.
Oh, I don't think they're betting on it.
They're getting you to pay for shit that you haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
When do you think this is it? Do you think this is like you're paying, like if you want a game online right now, starting pretty much in PS3, the Xbox 360, and going into this generation, you're now paying your internet service provider. You now have to purchase the gaming system. You have to purchase the game to play. Plus, you have to pay the gaming system for their online service, which I don't know what it does. And then if you're lucky, you don't have to pay the game publisher for actually putting up servers to play their game that's online.
You play. Fuck.
It's a whole lot of pain.
It is.
That's a whole lot of regular people right now. And that started last generation.
Yep.
Said season passes in full swing.
Yep.
With games that probably aren't even worth it. Like you said, if you're talking about a big name sequel,
yeah,
some sort of returning franchise that maybe is getting rebranded, maybe that's the game that gets the special edition. Maybe that's the game that gets, like, you know, added features that you can purchase on the side. But again, working with the expansion pack example I gave before, where the game is complete.
Yep.
Without the stuff, where the stuff is literally extra. Otherwise, they're just going to cack closer and closer and closer to the bone until people just say, it's like, wow, what the hell am I actually getting for $60? Like Shrine, the perfect example was Killer Instinct. Like you said, it seemed cool.
Yeah.
But they literally a fighting game, finger quotes, with one character. And then asked you to buy more. Yeah. And they asked you to wait for more.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to like this guy. If I played 2 rounds with Jago, or 2 fights with Jago, and I didn't like him, guess what? I'm probably not buying anyone else. And I'm probably not playing the game anymore.
Yep.
Like, that's a really, I think it did wind up working for them commercially, but I'm like, that's a big risk.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to introduce this new system, we're going to revitalize this IP, and you get to be this one guy.
On one hand, it's unfortunate that it did as well as it did, because now that's going to be a new marketing ploy for any other future fighting games.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be the new trend.
The bar has been lowered.
Yeah, pretty much. And everybody co-signed. Like 95% of the folks out there co-signed on that shit. Like, they don't understand it. What you do, what you decide to, you know, co-sign on, and what you support when it comes to the gaming industry, be it by action or inaction, it becomes the norm, because they are 100% jumping onto those kind of practices, and they're going to try to force feed that shit to you regardless, whether you notice it or not. So it's up to you to notice and reject that shit. And if you're not going to reject it, you can't complain when all this shit happens, you know? I've said it in toy reviews where, like, if a company is trying to shove subpar product down your throat, don't keep buying their shit. But as you've seen with Hasbro and their Marvel Legends, what ended up happening was that they improved, you know, not drastically, but they improved from the return of Marvel Legends to now. They improved greatly to a point where it's like, okay, now you can kind of see where some people get their enjoyment from these figures. But there was a point where it was really hard to see what the big deal was for a lot of these characters. And if you collect imports, it's still hard to see what the big deal is with these figures. But people complained, people pointed out, they outlined things, and Hasbro had no choice but to fix these things if they wanted to hit that bottom line. So it's like, you can do this with your games, you know what I mean? You easily can do this with your games. But the question is, do people actually give a shit? You know, like, it seems like the gaming public does not give a shit. They're too busy showing the world how big of douchebags they are and, you know, how much they can shit on each other on every public platform, you know, because everyone's better than everyone else in every game. Everyone's a noob when they mention something online. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's like, let's show how, you know, bottom of the barrel the gaming public actually is, you know? Sexism? Hell yeah, it's part of the fucking fighting game community. You guys, man, it's like, whoa, wow.
Then you wonder why, like, the rest of, you know, society or public that doesn't play games,
that's why they look at it.
Just looks down at on everybody as basement dwelling, you know. And then you're mad about it, but then, you know, you don't check your peers, you don't check yourself whenever people do act out.
Yep.
And you don't even check the game companies that are supplying you your you know, your hobby. So
yeah,
you get what you get.
If you're about that life,
we got.
If you're about that life, don't get mad when people say, call you out for being about that life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you said, if you want to be the forum troll, if you want to be like the sexist asshole, don't get mad when people call you out for being those things.
Yep.
I know you think like just because there's like some layer of anonymity with like, you know, behind your gamer tag or behind your like, you know, screen name, doesn't matter. It's still you. You know the truth.
Yeah.
Or people that get mad and say that, oh, you're trying to censor my First Amendment right. It's like, motherfucker, you need to actually read the entirety of that amendment because it doesn't really. You have some protection, but not for when it comes down to slander and, you know, and just actually being mean to people. That's just kind of doesn't fly with the amendment. And if you read the shit, you know this.
No, I don't read shit. I'm going.
What's reading?
Yeah, because like with that thing that happened to PewDiePie recently, people were coming out, like other YouTubers were coming out in defense of his dumb ass, you know, saying that, oh, it's just jokes and people were taking it too far, and that
what thing? You talking about the whole him paying those guys to say something about the Jews or whatever?
Yeah. But I mean, this is like that. Like he did other stuff before that, and this was kind of like the final straw. That was kind of like the final straw. But yeah, other YouTubers were coming out defending him. One guy on his channel, he was recently defending his use of the N-word because he uses it in his videos, and he's saying that because we bring such negative attention to it, that we're giving it the power that it doesn't deserve. But I'm like, but you're also giving it power by using it. Like, you don't have to refer to black people as niggers.
Yeah.
You can refer to black people as black people. Like
or brown.
Or brown, you know, or people of color or whatever. We have all these other words in the English language that you could use, and you choose that one. Yeah. And then you try to say it doesn't, you're trying to say you're using it because you're trying to take away its power. But no, not that racist people aren't going to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Black people who don't like that word are not going to look at it that way. You know, and of course the guy's white. So it's like, you know, you didn't have to go through like being called that in your life.
Yeah.
You know, and the social and psychological effects that come with that. So you can't sit there and talk about the power of the word that you yourself haven't experienced.
That he himself.
But this is the ignorance that exists within the YouTube community, the gamer community, because it's all intertwined.
Yeah,
and it's mostly, and unfortunately, it's mostly these younger cats that don't know no better because they just weren't raised right. I'm sorry. Like, your parents failed you. Your parents have failed your childhood. You know, like, I wish the arrow could just pop up and be like, you have failed your children, because you wouldn't talk like this if you were taught better. I'm sorry. You wouldn't behave this way if you were taught better.
Let's be even more real. You wouldn't talk like that face to face with one of us niggas, because you know damn well the shit would be on.
Everybody's got, you know, there's no liquid courage.
Yeah.
You know, when bars, there's keyboard courage too.
Yeah.
When you hide behind a screen name, basically, you can say whatever you want. I post a video, I can say whatever I want. Like,
yeah, it's weird, man.
Like, the thing that makes me so mad about the PewDiePie thing is that he tried to tell a joke. He told it terribly and got punished for it, which is fine.
Yeah,
punished his ass to fucking hell and back for it. But when you try to explain, because I tried to explain to some people in comment sections why his joke failed, because he didn't set if you're gonna do racially charged jokes or shock jokes, there's a way to set them up properly. Like, I'm not a comedian,
really clear. It has to be
but
really clear.
I've listened to enough comedians and I've watched enough shit, and I see how they structure their jokes. Yeah. You know, whenever they tell a joke like that, there's always not always about the actual racial thing. Like, usually the racial thing is used to draw attention to something else relevant.
Yeah.
So, and it sucks because not everybody gets it. And, you know, the people that are smart get it, but then, like, the people that just want to hear somebody just use the N-word over and over and over again don't get it, because they're just there to hear somebody use the N-word over and over and over again.
Yeah, to verify their feelings.
Yeah, and those people are the ones that are making these jokes because they don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, they think it's funny to say offensive shit.
Yeah.
Just to be offensive for offensive sake.
Yeah.
And that shit's not funny. It's bad comedy.
Yeah.
And if you do bad, you should be punished for doing bad things.
God, you gave me just now. There were so many areas that I could have segued into our Transformers talk, man. Good God. You said bad comedy. You said, what did you say just a few minutes ago? Shit. You said something else just a few minutes ago. I was like, fuck, that could have been the segue. Anyway, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Oh, no, I'm good. That was one of the other things I was going to bring up, but, you know, it's...
Yeah.
Since it was off our brains, but it's... I don't know.
It's a shame. It is a shame. I agree. I just, like... When it comes to these kind like social issues on YouTube, like, after we did the video on the fighting game community, I was like, fuck dealing with this stuff on YouTube, because it only works if someone's willing to listen, you know? Like, if you want to have a conversation, the two people involved, or the people involved in the conversation, have to both be willing to hear the other, you know, each side's perspectives. And what you get on YouTube is usually the worst, like, just fundamentally the worst, the dirtiest fucking gutter motherfuckers that want to have the conversation. They want to start the conversation, but they don't want to listen to what you have to say. You know, they want to draw attention to themselves, and that's it. That's all they care about, you know, is the attention. They don't give a shit about resolving anything. I had a guy in the comments earlier. It was like a couple earlier this month, we'll say, and he said he was bitching about the music, because I talked about removing the music from one of the old intros of one of my old videos, because this year, since the year started, I kept getting hit with these content ID matches for, like, videos that I did before the content ID system existed. So we were thinking that, you know, with most companies and with most laws, there's usually some kind of grandfather clause where, like, if you did something prior to the existence of the law and you're still, you know, you're not 100% breaking it, you're just in the, you know, you're I guess you would be under suspicion or something, you know, like, you could be excused. You could be, because your particular, whatever the particular thing is not necessarily, you did it before this was a thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So they would just be like, that thing is not, like, with these videos, I feel like if you used music that was copywritten, before YouTube cracked down on that stuff, they shouldn't even acknowledge those videos. Those videos should just exist. They're there. They're in the ether. That's it. It's done. There's time stamped, 2000 or 1999 or some shit. They're off limits. We can't do any. I can't monetize them, nor should anybody else. All the videos they were going after, I didn't monetize them. They were trying to monetize them. So I was like, fuck it. I'm taking the songs out. So I started editing shit out, and I re-uploaded my Street Fighter Assassin's Fist video, and this dude in the comments, Jesus, my brain. This dude in the comments was like, if you really want to, use music, why don't you try making your own music? You know how hard it is to make music? Society is pretty much gone against the musicians and blah blah. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was like trying to break down to me how I could get around getting content ID, whatever, from music. And I'm like, okay, the first thing is I have made music before. The second thing is right now I'm part of a network where I have like partnerships, access to hundreds of thousands of musicians that they make music for our videos. So it's not like I'm stealing. He kept calling it stealing. I'm like, if this was before anybody could make money off of that shit, it's not stealing. If you really want to talk about stealing, talk about all those YouTubers that have kitschy kind of channels that right now have several 100,000 viewers or several, million subs or whatever, and they constantly use music, licensed music, from shit that they definitely don't own the licenses to. All the video game channels that play Mario's music and play Zelda's music and shit like that, or whatever game they feel like talking about. All the Star Wars channels that play Star Wars' music without getting copyright matches. I had a snippet of Star Wars in one of my videos. It was a fucking Q&A video, and it was in the background, and they were like, take that shit off. Like, they were going to stop they were literally going to take down my whole video because I had like maybe 10, maybe 15 seconds of the Imperial March. And it was the free album that Fatboy Roberts did, where he mashed up all that shit. So no one made money off of that shit. No one could assume.
Oh shit! I'm not using that music no more. Then
yeah, no one could claim the shit because the guy who made it did it for free. So like, what rule am I breaking? What law am I breaking? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So homeboy just was spouting all this bullshit, and I casually, like I normally do, took everything he said point by point. It was about 5 points. And I told him the answers to all the points, which is pretty much what I just explained to you guys. He didn't even read it, and he said I gave him rhetorical answers. I'm like, number one, that doesn't make sense.
Does he know what that definition even means?
That's what I'm saying. Obviously not, And he didn't read what I wrote. And I was like, it figures. You just didn't feel like reading. He said I wrote a word salad. And then he didn't. I was like, so in English, you didn't read what I wrote. And you don't know how to respond when someone criticizes your critique. And I also told him, try, because he, of course, had to be one of those folks who has a channel with like 2 subscribers and 1 poorly done video. And I'm like, of course you're going to say this shit. This is what you guys always do. I had another guy try to tell me about how to edit videos. And I was like, these are the only 2 I've had this year. And I'm like, it's always easy for you to sit from the sideline and tell everyone else how to do their job better when you can't even give us an example with your own work. You know what I mean? Like, in the future, give us the example. Don't talk about it, do it. And then we'll listen to you. But, until then, sorry, you really don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to this stuff, I never told people I'm perfect at this. I just do it better than a lot of people. I'm not trying
what did he want you to change editing wise?
He was saying stuff about he didn't like the music I used. He said some of the beats were too busy for him. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. The only thing that he said that made sense was every now and then you'll notice I'll have a video where the levels will be weird, where like I'll be talking and all of a sudden the music will just be louder than my voice.
Yeah.
It's a glitch I keep finding with iMovie where randomly I'll tweak it because I have things set so that whenever I put in music on top of my vocals, it always goes to the same level. It's about 55%. But like sometimes I'll put the music in, and then we'll flip the levels. So the music will be at 55 and my voice will be super low, like what the music is supposed to be. I don't know what I'm supposed to do to fix it, but it happens like randomly, you know what I mean? So I usually re-upload the video afterwards. And there's been a couple times, if you look, you'll see there's at least, 3, maybe 4 of my 500, almost 600 videos where I just was like, fuck it, I'm not changing the levels. You know what I mean? Like the thing you need to get out of this is the visual, which was usually happens in the articulation portion when I started using like video of me moving the joints around and stuff. You could just mute the fucking video and look at the thing. I mean, you shouldn't have to, but if the glitch happens, you know what I mean? I only know it happens after I've uploaded it because it won't play like that on my computer. It plays like that in the YouTube player. It's a weird fucking, I don't get it. It even did that in my the G.I. Joe short that I did. Towards the end, when Duke is talking right before the end of the video, his voice is like super, super low, and then the music is like much higher than his voice. I was like, fuck, of course that happened. But I'm working on that, putting that in the bigger framework, and all that kind of shit will be fixed. But yeah, that was the only like legit criticism. Everything else was preference, He was trying to tell me about my intro, and I'm like, dude, listen. There's so many people on YouTube that do the ADD intro that's like 2 seconds. You can watch them. Like, there's no hard feelings. I don't care. You don't have to watch my videos. Or you could use the slider like a sane person and just move past the fucking intro. It's just, it's simple. If you don't like it, don't watch it. You have that option. Don't get on the fucking comments and try to tell the person, how to do what they do. Everyone has their way of presenting their shit, you know what I mean? Like, you can't expect everybody to do things one way. But I guess that's the YouTube mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the channels, when one thing works, everybody does the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not what I set out to do. That's why I have, 2,000 subscribers and not 2 million subscribers, because I'm not trying to copy off of what, fucking PewDiePie did. If that was the case, I'd just be making Let's Plays, playing horrible games, making a lot of noise, pretending to be happy.
Oh, then turn around and be like, yeah, I feel bad I did all that, but I got paid. Like, I don't know, that when you told me about that video, I was just like, man, like, I don't care for the guy, but after that, I'm just like, fuck you, dude, because because how can you sit there and talk about other people? How can you sit there and talk about other people like doing the same shit you did to get where you're at, and then be pointing the shit out from other people?
Yeah,
and doing it now, and they're still doing it. Like, that doesn't make you any better.
Yeah,
you're just a little bit more aware. Out all the way back then,
yeah,
and now you've got your following, you've established your brand, so your avenues have opened to where you can deviate from that stuff and do different things and still maintain your watcher base.
And now you say that shit.
And now you want to talk about the shit that got you there, like it was bad, but it wasn't bad when you were doing it. Like, I mean, you don't sit there and go out and go see a bunch of prostitutes, and then you get to like this higher upper echelon, you get this really good job, and you go out and talk about how bad it is to go sleep with prostitutes. Motherfucker, you were sleeping with prostitutes before.
That's how they do stuff,
like,
though. That's America. America.
I know it
is. Don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't talk bad about it after the fact.
Like, don't do it. It's horrible. Take it from me. I did it for years.
Well, Speaking of horrible, here we go. Hey, we're gonna talk about Transformers now. We have to, because this is the thing with me and Transformers. I know Agent O is big into Transformers. Actually, both you two are pretty big into Transformers. It's probably one of the franchises, like, I know when we bring it up, you guys have a lot of like history, you know, a lot of what's supposed to be going on. You guys both have mentioned characters. I'm like, who the fuck is that character? Especially you, Agent O. You mentioned people, and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, when did this shit happen? Because my knowledge only goes to, like, I want to say some of the Udon comics and I'm sorry, not Udon, Dreamwave comics, and then
Dreamwave,
I read a handful.
Steel Wave.
I know, right? And then I read a handful of the IDW stuff, and I think the IDW stuff is where the movies need to be drawing their inspiration. Yeah. So I don't know. The last night, I don't know. One of you who wants to? You can lead. I'll let you lead, Agent O. You can lead. Talk about the.
I mean, it's already a clusterfuck, and all we got was the trailer. Like, I didn't even know it was based off of what was it, from one of the Generation 2 episodes?
Yeah.
Really remember too many of those episodes anyway.
Yeah.
But I didn't get how the Knights of King Arthur and Transformers kind of like fit together. I mean, when they explain, like when you explain that it's a time travel type of episode or something like that, because I remember they did some shit like that in the first generation, where they had like cavemen running around and shit in one of those episodes, along with like history, and it was just kind of like a whacked out episode.
Yeah,
the fact that that's what they took from all those episodes. That's what they took to make this movie.
It shows you what they actually are basing this shit off of. Like, clearly they didn't read the comics. They don't know who Simon Furman is. I
think they just want to come up with the most fucked up concepts for these films just to see if they can get away with it.
But we just like call this what it is right now. Like, they're just trolling right now.
Yeah.
Ever since the first one.
Yeah.
Ever since the first one, they've just been trolling.
Ever since they killed Jazz.
It's like, I don't really give a shit about Transformers, but like these things made a bunch of money, so all right, I'm just gonna do like a random Google search for images, and the first image I see, that's what I'm gonna base the movie on. Like Transformers and like one word into a search, and then like say, oh, boom, there we go, Knights, awesome, fucking Transformers with a sword.
And what the fuck is Unicron? Like, he looks destroyed.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was Unicron. I thought that was leftovers of Cybertron when they tried to pull it into Earth's atmosphere in the one movie.
Yeah.
When they first showed it, that was my thinking. I'm like, dude, that's Unicron, isn't it?
Yep.
I didn't put it together.
Well, everything looks like a hollowed out core in this Transformers. Like, nobody looks substantial. Everything feels like there's too many holes and too many spaces, and like from the design outward, it's like I said in that text I sent you guys, they all look like razor sharp vagina face monsters, and it sucks because I like vagina and it shouldn't look like that. And that's what
it should look like you're sticking your shit in a blender.
Yeah, man, it's scary looking. It's like, why are all the bad guys crustacean people with vagina faces, with razor sharp vagina faces? Like, what is somebody has issues in that design, group. Like, what the fuck? Ugh, it's not cool. And it's
like these things, like the original designs were like, I mean, obviously they were simple because you were dealing with, with cartoons and with comics and to a lesser extent the toys, but like that was like the designs were still like easily recognizable beyond them being different colors, because they weren't really that many different colors on the show.
Yeah.
So now that you see these like goddamn messes that like they put up there, is like, okay, Prime is still red and blue, B is still a bug first off, or even a small car. But he's yellow. Everyone else good luck figuring out who they are.
Yeah, man. Like when you hear is that Anthony Hopkins narrating the trailer, that first trailer?
Uh-huh.
And he's talking about the Autobots and the Decepticons, and they show that one Autobot. He's got those Juby ass lips, and I'm like I can't figure out what character that's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be Hotshot? I don't know. Like,
oh, I don't know. I don't even remember. I didn't even notice the lips, man. I was just like this. I just saw shit swirling around on the screen.
Like he actually had like a human looking face, and it wasn't like their designs are getting a bit more discernible, I guess. Even though I still don't care for them. But I kept rewinding that part to try and figure out which character that was, and I couldn't tell.
Don't strain you.
His whole body, you only see his head and part of his shoulders, and he's all breathing hard and shit. But you can't tell what it is because there's nothing about the designs that tells you like, oh, this is Ironhide. Like Ironhide was like a black truck, and when he transformed, there was nothing about him that looked like Ironhide.
Yeah.
No.
Ratchet only because they threw on the lettering for an ambulance, but you could tell. But that was it. I mean, it's so frustrating because it's so well laid out for you. Everything is planned already laid out for you. All you have to do is follow the guidelines and just make sure the aesthetics work with the. They're relatable to what the original designs were, and it's like they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, at least finally getting to the heart of, they're finally showing that they understand the true central conflict of, Transformers through lore. Even in the voiceover, they said, oh, the final battle between the humans and the Transformers is about to begin. That was never the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
They landed on Earth by happenstance. They landed on Earth thousands, if not millions of years before humans were even here.
Mm-hmm.
But you.
That was one of the things I remember saying a long ass time ago. The whole premise with the cartoon was that the humans needed the Autobots.
Because the Decepticons killed them all.
Yep.
Yeah, and so that was where the uneasy alliance was. But with the movies, you don't need the Autobots because the humans always figured out a way to fight off the Decepticons. Like in the first movie, they came up with that bullshit plot hole of using the incendiaries that burn like well over 2,000 degrees, even though they flew into the fucking atmosphere with no ship or anything.
It's because they were G.I. Joe. Because fucking they were Joes. It's because fucking Michael Bay should be directing G.I. Joe and not Transformers.
Why is he really not doing it? Is it because he threw in his lot with Transformers and like he doesn't want to be known as the toy guy? First off, Michael Bay is known as the guy who blows shit up.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't really expect he ultimately thinks he has beyond the guy who blows shit up. You made Bad Boys 2, and that's got while an entertaining movie has some really odd scenes in it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Throwing cadavers off the back of a car.
I know. When that car ran over that cadaver, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, man.
It's a wee bit fucked up, but
yeah,
but I knew, like, I had a feeling it was Unicron because Prime coming back to life, or when he came back to Earth, I'm like, wait, Prime was dead, and I see that big fucker in space. Oh goddamn, was that Unicron? And then he attacked Bumblebee. I'm like, yup.
Yep. Unicron, he put him back together and gave him a job.
We're doing the fucking Megatron storyline, which made more fucking sense in the movie when it was Megatron.
Yeah.
Optimus. First off, where the fuck was Optimus going at the end of 4 anyway?
Yeah.
I'm coming for you. Well, first off, you couldn't fly until right now. Secondly, unless they're on fucking Mars, you're not going to find them out of juice before that time, and then you're going to be stuck.
Yep.
And lo and behold, What happened?
I know, you see him floating around in space, frozen in space.
Especially when didn't the ship that bounty hunter have? Couldn't he have still used that ship, or did it blow up?
I don't think they blew it up.
Don't put more thought into it than they did.
I mean, he could have just hopped on that ship and took off.
Don't put more thought into it than they did.
But okay, here, this is the thing that we need to do, because like people hear us rag on these films, but a lot of people don't get why we're ragging on the film. So like, here's the reason why we're ragging on these films. It's really, really simple. What the plot of Transformers is what, Agent O? What is the conflict? Who is fighting who? What is one group of people like in comparison to another group of people? Like, what is, I don't know, elaborate.
Well, like, it's a civil war. Like that, like the thing that kills me is you have this awesome story of this intergalactic civil war that spans eons, it spans space and time, and it spills onto Earth.
Yep.
And the one thing, and the first movie is not about any of that. It's about a boy in his first car trying to get a girl that's way out of his league. That's basically what the first Transformers film is about.
Yep.
And that's shit. That's garbage.
I agree.
That's even a fun.
Have the Transformers themselves as secondary characters in their own film.
Yeah.
Titled Transformers. It's not Spike Wiki and the Transformers. It's the fucking Transformers. But they're just another set piece.
Yep.
For the film.
To you guys last time, it was like they're just, yeah, and we talked about it too. It's like they're just set dressing. They're just the thing that causes the effects to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And the effects of lately aren't even that good.
Like look at the, what was it, the fourth movie?
Where they
like
hit all
transforming
the
cubes?
Transformations, yeah.
Transformium?
They just turned into connectors. I'm like, then how do you kill them? Like literally, when you shoot and a round is coming toward one, it should just kind of open up and let the round go out the back.
Yeah.
And Galvatron was doing that.
Yep.
Even when we kicked the one, he went into the fire. He should have still just turned into a friggin' Connect Blocks cloud and went away from the fire.
Yeah, it's like anything goes as far as absurdity as the movies progress, and it just doesn't matter. None of it matters anymore. I mean, they could all be sitting there whipping out their robo dicks and jerking off, and lasers and rainbows would be shooting out, and somehow would still make $1 billion fucking dollars. And Transformer fans, who I blame for all of this shit, Transformer fans in China, I blame for all of this shit, because the fans jumped on it wholeheartedly. They support it. They support those ugly as sin designs. They support all the garbage, and they justify it by saying, "Oh, it's just a movie you can turn your brain off to." Which I don't want to turn my brain off to Transformers, because if you look at the IDW comps, you see so much that they did with aspects of how the war turned out, how certain characters got disenfranchised by the war because they were fighting it for millions of years, and that even Megatron kind of forgot about what they were fighting for.
Exactly.
And that ultimately led to the war ending, because sick of it. Even the Decepticons got sick of fucking fighting.
Yep.
And taking the storyline in those directions and giving these characters all this depth just makes me like the series or the whole IP more. And then when you turn around and look at these films,
it would draw anybody.
And there's none of it is there.
Yeah.
No, there's no characterization. There's the voice of Optimus Prime, but not the soul.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's the part that bugs me is how simplistic the early portion of the story really is. Essentially, it's a militia versus actual military, because the Autobots weren't created to fight. They were the slave class, essentially. The early Autobots were the slave class. They're not the ones that are adept in fighting. They had to learn to do that. Optimus was rebuilt to be able to fight. You know what I mean? Or Orion Pax. He wasn't initially a fighter. They learned over time how to deal with the freaking superior Decepticons, you know? And to see how that fight actually worked, that whole portion of the story could have been one movie.
Yeah, and even the IDW comics even took it further because they actually started off showing Megatron as the good guy because
he was
a blue collar worker.
Yeah, before he ended up.
Yeah, he was a miner.
Fighting.
Yeah, he was a miner who got tired of the man basically sticking it to him, and he organized the people in order to fight back against the government that was basically keeping all the riches for themselves and treating everybody else like shit. And then eventually turned into a tyrant. He turned into something worse than what he was fighting for.
Yeah, he got drunk with power.
Yeah, but that shit could have been in a film.
But think about who this film appeals to.
Yeah, but that's after the fact. Because you think about who it.
No.
Who they.
If you're pitching this to Hollywood, to Middle America, do you really think they want to see that?
But I mean, we've had it already. Think about Robin Hood, robbed from the rich, steal from the poor. Yeah. I mean, Disney animated the fucking movie, a version of Robin Hood, and that was exactly the same thing. It was people rising up against the king or whoever it was that was taxing everybody and keeping everybody poor while they lived high on the hog.
Yeah.
It's like, and at some point, it's still a war. Well, at least in the cartoon, especially, it's like it's still like it's a battle for resources too. So, like obviously, like they're trying to get back home and they're trying to secure an energy source, and Earth is a good enough place as any. Like it's not like there's anything useful on here using all this energy.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. The whole robots in disguise thing, when IDW handled it, it made so much more sense because they fought their war on Cybertron to the point where they killed their planet. Mm-hmm. Their planet is now uninhabitable. They had to leave and go find new energy sources. So instead of continuing the fight the same way they were fighting on Cybertron on other planets,
they evolved.
The Decepticons figured out, let's take over the planet from within and then have the people or the indigenous life on that planet wipe each other out. Then we'll come in, whatever stragglers are left, and now we've left the whole planet intact, and we can just take whatever resources we need and move on. So when they come to Earth, the disguise aspect, the covert aspect, just made so much more sense.
Exactly.
I mean, and then when they finally took over, it was like the world was fucked because they were in every part of every world's military infrastructure. Like when they tried to bomb Manhattan because the Decepticons took over Manhattan, cut off all access to it, so they basically had a whole Iron Island fortress to themselves. And when they tried to send a airship to bomb to nuclear bomb them, the airship ended up being a Decepticon. so there wasn't anything they could do.
Exactly.
They were just fucked.
Damn it.
Uh-huh. It's crazy, man, because like when you really get into this franchise in the comics and such, it's so much deeper than what they've been giving us in these films. Like they make the films look like a masterclass of buffoonery. Like this is the kind of shit that you just don't do. You know what I mean? It's just fucking foolery. Like $1 million foolery. Because even though they look all complex with all the crazy, animations and such, it's still all shit. Like nothing of substance happens in these films. Whereas the fucking, the comics from several different publishers, the comics actually give you like some deep, stories, real deep stories, like all the shit about the headmasters when they redid the whole headmaster thing, where there's people who literally sacrifice their bodies so that they can be one with the tech that they've been studying for so long. Like it's fucking crazy. Like what kind of person does that? That's a whole nother and the fact that they used clone bodies of Sunstreaker, I think it was, as opposed to having like every Transformer you already know turning into a headmaster now. Like it makes more sense to make these characters like like a generic class of characters as opposed to making them something else. You know, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and with that storyline, it's even more jacked up because he was alert and oriented when they were experimenting on him. So
Exactly.
he felt everything they were doing to him. So you have these like war, I guess, science experiments, like almost Nazi-ish in the way it was told. And the fallout from that was like he ended up hating humanity because of it.
Yeah.
Because of everything he went through. And he ended up betraying the Autobots over that because he wanted humanity to suffer for what they had done to him.
Yep.
And he had PTSD. So he would wake up at night still dreaming about being tortured and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just so much they did that just does just leaps and bounds beyond what is being done in the films.
Yeah.
Because they also let the Transformers again be the vehicles, pardon the pun, which they used to tell the story. Instead of it being like, hey, here's some jackass fucking wannabe inventor from Texas that this whole film is going to focus on.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime and Megatron and a ton of other. The reason why they have heads and arms and legs is like that's just one part of the humanization aspect of it. So you look at them and you can tell they're fucking people, and then you hear them speak personalities. You can tell that they're fucking people. It's not like there was no Transformer with fucking treads for legs. There was no Transformers walking on things like the spider.
Yeah, that's all movie shit. It's weird too because it wasn't until they got a hold of the Transformers that we started getting the less humanized versions of the Transformers. You know what I mean? Like, that's jacked up when you think about it. They went out of their way to give them lips and shit like that, but we got the least human versions of these characters in the films.
Yes.
Take that, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah. Fucking horrible.
Like four movies and more coming, 5, and then they're going to spin off into other stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No. It's like I get it. If you just want to see stuff blow up, like there's other movies.
Yeah.
I wish the Expendables crew would just make a movie every year so they could actually just compete with it.
Or like I was telling somebody the other day, like one of the reasons why I love the John Wick movies is because
they know what they are.
It's a simple plot, but it doesn't try to be anything more than what it is.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do, because it's a swan. To me, it's like it's another swan song to 80s action movies, like the good ones.
Yeah.
The good action films. And there's little bits of gems of dialogue, like when John Wick is explaining to the Russian mob boss, why he's even thinks that he's going to for revenge. Like to me it's some pretty tight writing.
Yeah.
It takes it a little bit more. It gives it a little bit more of a level of another level or another layer to the revenge archetype or plot.
Yeah.
So rather than just like I'm mad because this guy did me wrong, it's like he explains like I was trying to heal and your son just came and just shat all over that because he wanted something that didn't belong to him, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's like, and if you protect him, I'm going to burn it all down.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. And that's what makes that film so good. It makes and for all the people that want somebody to, they want to relate to the character, there it is right there. He's showing the humanity of that character. Just in that one scene and that one little bit of dialogue, you got so much out of it. And you go to Transformers and it's just a dumpster fire. 4 movies.
Not 5.
5. Well, now 5 now, yeah.
We can officially we can't officially call the last night dumpster fire yet because it's like when Friday friggin' 12 noon rolls around after the first showings, like, yeah, we can.
Hey, we know it doesn't take a genius to see where the shit's going. You know, like this shit, it's they haven't done it right yet.
They got Anthony Hop, man. I guess if you need a paycheck, but shit, man, really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't. Those I think actors, when they hit a point where they just don't give a fuck anymore.
I think it's just it's fun.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins is doing Westworld, and that shit is dope. So this is just like yacht money for him. Like, oh, I'm just gonna put some gas in my yacht with this check from Transformers. Like, cry anymore. Like Morgan Freeman was in Ben-Hur playing the magical, mystical Negro role.
Yeah, like, I could tell that from
do that, but he was getting probably an awful lot of money to do it. Yeah. So he just said, "Fuck it." He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's true.
But he's like, "I already established myself."
And I mean, like you said, they make money, so they'll make more. But it's like what they could have done.
Oh yeah,
they literally done so much more. Like you said, there's so much lore between what IDW did with the last run of the comics, between the US run of the comics, between freaking Generation 1 and Generation 2 of the cartoons. There's so much they could have done.
Yeah.
But why not just pick a better episode?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could have picked comics. You could have picked episodes from the fucking series or from the TV series. Like, you could have done better if your people aren't capable of literally doing better. Because, like, what bugs me, and I talked about this with the dudes at G.I. Joeberg the other day when we were talking about the G.I. Joe films. What makes these execs think that their version of the story is going to be better than the established story? Like, these stories have been around for 30 years, and like, we were kids, and we hold this shit in such high regard. You know what I mean? Like, we're still going back to this shit, you know, after all this time. We're grown-ass men with families. New shit comes out, and we're still ignoring the new shit. And we're like, this particular story is more original. It's well done. It's better. That's why we like this shit, you know? And some exec comes after the fact and is like, oh, I could do a better job than this. The fuck have you done to make it, you know, to prove that you are capable of doing something that can stand the test of time the way that some of these early franchises have? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
It's to them, I think it's just an IP, and they just want to make it work. Like,
it's ego.
I was talking to that nurse that I was telling you about that likes that loves the X-Men and used to read the comics back in the day, because she had just started watching Luke Cage, and she was asking me what I thought of it. And she was like, you know, they whenever they do these types of comic book movies, she was like, they really need to find people that actually love the source material, because those people always do the best job with it. And this is somebody who she's not into it. She's into it, but she's not into it as much as us, where we nitpick and analyze every little thing about these franchises and about the movies and films and stuff. But even she understands this.
Yep.
Why the fuck hasn't, like, Hollywood or whoever it is that, you know, runs these studios, why haven't they figured it out yet? You know, the movies that have had the most success are always the ones where people cared about the source material. It's almost like this is almost the reason why Marvel is spanking Warner Brothers right now.
Yeah.
Put the right people in control that actually care about doing these characters justice. It's why Deadpool works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why the X-Men movies suck, because you hired somebody that doesn't give a shit about the source material. Exactly. I heard Logan is actually pretty good. I don't know. I still kind of don't really care.
Yeah.
Because of the first two films.
Alternative
you wait to do one of it's in my opinion is one of the not the greatest Wolverine stories ever told, Old Man Logan. Ugh. And you can't even do you can't even do it representative of the actual book because you can't use a large majority of those characters anyway that were in the books. So you have to write, you're doing your own story with it or your own thing. If it works out for you, great. If not, I mean, there's so many other stories, Wolverine stories, that you could have chose that were way fucking better than Old Man Logan.
Yeah, I agree.
To run with. You know, hey, more power to you. But ultimately, you know, those films don't have they don't have the magic that Marvel is actually putting out right now.
I agree.
No.
I agree. Marvel is making magic, but then again, they're also working with Disney. Disney's got magic in a fucking syringe, and they're fucking, you know what I mean? They're fucking injecting that shit into the people that work with them because somehow they're always on point. They're always on point. Like we saw Moana not too long ago, and I couldn't believe how on point that shit was, man. It was like all the things that I hate about Disney were not present in this film. All the music worked. All the effects were awesome. The designs were awesome. It's like they just got that shit on lock, like magical. It's fucking ridiculous. But I don't know. There something has to change with the way that a lot of these franchises, namely the Transformers, are handled. If they're supposed to be doing a shared universe based on Transformers, then they're gonna need to really like amp this shit up. You know what I mean? Like, stop telling these bootleg stories of characters like fucking, what's his name? Cade Yeager or some shit like that?
Yeah.
Fuck? Like, get that shit out of here. Yeah, man. Like, get that shit out of here and actually tell a Transformers story. Like, you would.
I'm an inventor.
I know, I'm an inventor. Like, get the fuck. It's funny because, like, if they told these stories that we're talking about, like, granted, we understand that they're trying to cater to the lowest common denominator. Okay, fine. But if you told the stories that we have mentioned so far to the public, you'd blow their minds because they have no idea that any of this shit exists. You know what I mean? They don't know how deep this rabbit hole actually goes. They have no fucking clue. And if you actually utilize that shit, you would blow people's fucking minds. I mean, I don't know. It fucking bothers the hell out of me. And down the road, I want to do the drink and watch or just, you know, watch and completely rip in a new one, the Transformers films. But yeah, man, that's
there will be alcohol if we're going to be watching a lot of those.
Shit, part of me wants to just like flip through it and then, you know, come back and talk about it. But nah, I'll watch it while drinking and then, you know, go into detail about what they need to do to fix, you know, some of this stuff. Because, you know, it's strange to me how there is a fan base for this sort of thing, but this fan base, you like Transformers, but you don't know the real Transformers. Like, you don't know the official Transformers. You just know the Hollywood version. Like, you're not really a fan of Transformers. You need to go back and find out what it is that you were all about. You know what I'm saying? Like, what it is that you were at one point, like, what really draws you to this series. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Hollywood version. There's something about these characters that draws you to them, and you need to go back and explore that shit, you know, so you really understand how great the franchise can be. You know, I'm not even a huge Transformers fan, but I will admit there are some like pretty amazing stories with these guys, you know. But I just don't understand why this is so difficult for you know, for Hollywood to get right, you know.
I mean, and they think they're doing it right because of their returns.
Yeah, they're
on
making shitloads of money. You're right.
Yeah, I mean that's the same thing that's happening to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, all their
the
movies
people
have
that
been
do
fun.
movie fights. There's this one chick that shows up there and does some of the movie fights or participates in them, and she knows somebody who works in Warner Brothers who had heard that the Wonder Woman film was garbage, or they had seen it, and they said what they saw was trash. Which I'm hoping that's not the case.
Oh, yeah.
But I know, it's like not another one.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I doubt it.
Yeah, but if that's the case, it's like, oh my god, then that only adds more truth to what we heard about the Batman script.
Yeah,
and now you've got Ben Affleck trying to get out of the role completely.
Well, I mean, if you still have,
if that's true, that's still rumors, but
no, because he said that if the script wasn't cool, he wouldn't do it. He said that in the beginning, in the very beginning. But look, like, if they're still giving David Goyer jobs after he's fucked royally every single thing he's worked on, with the exception of like the Blade films and maybe the well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the Blade films, the first two Blade films and one of the Nolan films, because he had less to do with them as time went along. They're still giving him fucking, writing jobs. Like, he's doing fucking Krypton now. Like, no, you already fucked up with stuff. Like, there's no reason why that guy should still be working on superhero stuff. Unless you hate superheroes, there's no reason why that motherfucker should be working. I mean, like, let's be real. If you go to your job and you perform like that, there's no way you'll continue doing the job. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah, let's just give him another chance, Like, they've given him, like, 7 chances, and he's fucked up each time. Like, it's to the point now where it's pretty obvious that he does not love this shit enough to actually get it right. Because his version
he's just not good. He's not a good writer.
Yeah,
he's even promoted as much.
But he's got those connections, like him, Orsi, and all those cats.
Yeah, Kurtzman and Orsi. Yeah.
I think that's another factor in there.
That's why the Hollywood thing is not the best when it comes to. I mean, I guess if you're trying to make money, that's it. And honestly, when we're talking about the quality of a film, don't bring up how much money because people in the comments are going to do it. Well, it made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Shut up. Like, that has nothing to do with the quality of the film. So
made as much without the Chinese market. Like, China is keeping some of these Warner Brothers movies afloat.
Oh yeah.
Because apparently they'll see anything.
Yeah.
So long as
there's a Chinese person in it.
Yeah. And so long as there's no
no attacking their country?
And it can't have any anti-China propaganda or message in there either.
What was the? Wait a minute. I'm trying to think. There was something about magic or ghosts or something over there. So I know Ghostbusters didn't fly, but I'm trying to think if Warcraft was a hit over there.
No, Warcraft did super well over there.
Yeah, Warcraft did well in China.
That's why we had a fucking 1080p leaked version out there, was because of China.
Yeah.
They leaked that shit.
But yeah, it's true. Like, so I remember, what was it, the fourth one, because that was the last one was out. It was the last one I saw. Still can't believe I saw that in the theater. Yes, that had its obligatory, like, oh, we got to detonate this in the largest city.
Yeah.
So they go to Beijing. I'm like,
nope.
And I like the CinemaSins quote on it too. It's like, Beijing is not one of the top 5 largest cities in the world. 5 largest cities in China.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's where we had to go because China.
China is here.
I was just going to do that.
That's why. Because, Mr. Burton, China is here. It's fucking terrible.
I'm not saying, like, that these should only be like, like whatever, Anglo-centric or whatever, but I'm like, it could fit if it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
America needs to start, as far as like with people of color, they need to start not being shitty with the
rest of the world,
promoting people of color in a better light, so that when you do stuff like when you create the movie posters, you're not shrinking the black guy who's probably the star of the film, like with 12 Years a Slave.
Or like with fucking Star Wars. Where Finn in the Chinese version of the poster, Finn is like almost non-existent. I'm like,
he's one of the central characters.
Like, are you serious? It hurts your feelings that much to see a brown person in a lead role? Like, really? Get over yourself.
Did you not see that commercial?
I know.
Apparently, like they view, you know,
how to wash the brown away.
They view having dark skin as some sort of affliction that must be cleansed and purified.
I mean, and I get it. It's cultural. I mean, it's part of the history, not just in like Asia, but also in like India and other countries. But
it's still fucked up.
Like it's 20 fucking 17.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it's fucked up.
Some of those old practices and beliefs need to fucking die.
Yeah, they need to stop.
And America has done their fair share to reinstill and perpetuate a lot of those views.
Yeah.
And it is not going to fully change until they start changing it. And then because the rest of the Hollywood's going to fall in like they've fallen in with everything else Western culture does.
I agree.
You know, that's where it's got to start. You know, and if they're gonna show like these movies in other countries, then they need to show do movie posters properly. They need to feature these characters or these actors properly, so that when they go over there, say if they go over there to promote a film or something, you know, they're not being put on the back burner. Like that made me so mad when I saw the poster for 12 Years a Slave, and you see Chiwetel's character is like super small and he's like running because he's a slave in the fucking movie. He's a star of the fucking movie. Brad Pitt's like barely in the movie, but his face took up like more than 3/4 of the fucking poster.
Exactly.
12 Years a Slave.
Because they love them some white people.
I mean, it just, I don't know, that shit just made me, and I get in China, they have that practice of the bigger name gets the most space on the poster. But that shouldn't always apply, you know, because, you know, we've seen it with like Jackie Chan movies where like he's in the movie for like 10 seconds, but they use him as the selling point of the whole film.
Yeah.
But with American films, that shit shouldn't apply because it doesn't. That's not how it works over here. And so if you're showing an American film overseas, then if they want that full American experience, then you need to show it the way an American would show it.
Well, the problem is this, though. Marketing-wise, America does the same shit. Because we can use superheroes, for instance. Anytime there's a team, the Wolverine guy always ends up in front, and the leader, the Cyclops guy, is way in the back.
True.
They do that shit with the Ninja Turtles. There's 4 of them. The theme song used to tell you... Actually, all the theme songs mention that Leonardo is the leader, yet if you were to judge by the posters, he's always way in the background and Raphael is way in the front just because he's the fan favorite. They need to fucking get over that shit and market it right, you know? X-Men, they always have Cyclops is like hidden. You know, I was looking at movie posters with Cyclops. He's not in a lot of the movie posters because they defer to Hugh Jackman. Like they need to figure out.
Yeah, you're right.
They need to not focus so much on trying so hard to like perpetuate. I mean, and I get it. You want to make sure you make that money, but like perpetuating falsities or like false narratives is just bullshit. Because the movies, like at least with the X-Men films, at least they were all about Wolverine. But like with you know, G.I. Joe and shit like that, there's a point of the cartoon or the comics, I mean, where Snake Eyes was like the main character, and then it ends. And so trying to sell G.I. Joe and putting Snake Eyes in the forefront, sorry, that's not his role, you know? He usually is going off doing shit on his own anyway. So, like, they need to sell it right, but that's why they focus on, you know, selling things the way that they sell things, because they want that fan base to be appeased so they can definitely secure, you know, that money, because that's all that matters. I mean, in the end, that's the fucked up part. I mean, it just would make sense for people to be more like Marvel when it comes to this stuff and like look at how they do stuff and, you know, at least be inspired by how they do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not gonna copy wholesale, at least fucking be, you know, mindful of how they do what they do.
Not so much by how they make their toys, though.
Nah, not necessarily. Everyone can do better than that.
Still, because we're still waiting on a major, Black Widow figure because nobody wants to buy a girl figure.
I know. And they've released one, but we've only had the one. Well, no, we've had two.
Two, yeah.
Versus,
the 50 Captain Americas.
How many Captain Americas?
And the 3 billion Iron Man figures that we got. And I get it, they're popular characters, but at this point, the whole team's pretty damn popular. Make figures of everybody, including the girls. They're just about to re-release Gamora. We should have had Gamora as a separate figure. We should have had 3 or 4 versions of her by now. I think they've made 2. It's not like she just recently became a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. She's been on the Guardians of the Galaxy for a long ass time. So, before that, wasn't she part of the Infinity Watch back in the day when we were kids?
I honestly don't remember.
I know she had something to do with that.
I didn't pay as much attention to the cosmic parts of Marvel as I should have.
Oh, you didn't read Infinity War back in the day? Infinity Gauntlet and all
that? I actually didn't.
What? Wow.
I know. I knew stuff that happened in it, but I never actually sat down and read it.
Wow.
I had Thanos Quest, Infinity Gauntlet, and then I read only a little bit of Infinity War. I didn't finish it. Sad part was I think it was only 4 or 6 issues or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. It was all the tie-in shit that made it extra long. Because almost every book at the time was somehow intertwined with the plot. Because it was literally a company-wide event, I read it
back when those things were a rarity.
Yeah, exactly. When they fucking mattered.
Yeah.
Because now that shit doesn't matter. That's the problem.
All right, so how do you want to break these things down? You want to start with the first movie and just go from there, or you want to start with the last movie and go back, or what?
Yeah, I think when we do the reviews, we should do, or the I guess we shouldn't say, they won't be reviews. When we do our overviews or our little talks about them, we can start with the...
See, I think that's the perfect way to be used for what that is. It'll be an autopsy.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Because I don't want to review them all the way. Because number one, I'll put up a picture and then Google will say or something, oh, well, we're going to take down your picture because you used visual assets from the film. Bitch, I'm talking about the film. It's a review. That exists. And it exists for people who don't have 1 million fucking subs already. Because I noticed that those are the people who get away with doing that shit.
Plus, the law, the title, whatever, protects you, because if you do stuff in the form of a review or comedy or satire, I don't even know how they can block people for that.
Only if you're big enough.
Yep, you gotta be big
enough. Yeah, I just think that's bullshit.
It is bullshit. That's why when certain people try to tell you how YouTube works, it's yeah, you clearly don't understand. It's all about the money. And it's not about upholding these ridiculous laws that they've come up with, The laws protect, everything, the laws protect the ones up at the top. They don't really protect the rest of us down here where we're at, or the folks in the middle. It just doesn't work like that. But, nobody listens.
No, I'm still thinking about the last movie that came out, fucking... whatever the hell it was called, I don't know.
Not Dark of the Moon.
It was 3. The one I didn't see for a while.
Age of Extinction.
The hell? Age of Extinction. Yes, you're right. I'm how the hell did Lockdown actually make a deal with the CIA?
Gunface.
How did Gunface just reveal himself? Did he just did he just disguise himself as somebody's Lambo and then talk to them from inside or something?
I know, Michael.
I'm what? Because it's oh yeah, because he fully worked with them. They know who he is. They expect to meet with him. They're calling him and letting him know where Optimus is. I'm
yeah, what? How the fuck do you arrive at this shit?
So you hate all of them. Actually, no, they seem to hate the Autobots more, and they've like kicked them off the planet. Like I don't know. I think they mentioned kicking them off the planet in like the last 3 movies.
Yeah.
But they're always there because it's a Transformers movie.
I don't know,
because
man.
it doesn't make sense. That's why.
Yeah.
And they need Transformers, so I guess they got to show back up again, or they never left, or I don't know, the ship broke down, something.
Yeah, as experienced and as knowledgeable as the government is, even in the third movie, like you have a faction that clearly wants to help, and to the point where you have the military. Because in the third movie, the military is working with them, and they were doing those practice drills where they're rappelling off the fucking Transformers and shit, and practicing their takedown maneuvers. And then you have that government lady come in and was like, "Oh no, fuck all of that! Like you guys got to go."
Yeah, it's like
and then you don't make sure the Decepticons leave with them, who are actually causing the problem.
Yeah,
no,
that's like hiring military in another country to come over to fight the terrorists, and then tell that military to leave while the terrorists are still terrorizing.
Yeah,
should make no sense.
Like you say, okay, the Transformers have to leave. One group is going to comply and leave willingly. Another group just tells you to go fuck yourself. Like, and you're only concerned about getting the ones off that you can. You're part of the problem. Like, no, they're.
And that happened in the cartoons. There was that one episode in the first season where they did leave the planet, and then
didn't their ship blow up just like in the movie?
Yeah, just like in the movie, it blew up.
Yeah.
But either they weren't on the ship or
they weren't.
They had jetpacks or some shit. I can't remember.
Yeah, they pulled some kind of switch.
I just remember.
They could have had a friggin' even like a sort of, I don't know if you want to borrow that aspect from the G.I. Joe movie or something, where like they plant somebody in the government or something like that. And we've already established in this universe that you can make a Transformer that looks exactly like a human being.
Yeah.
Which means you fucking win.
Yeah.
Just make one look like the goddamn president, again, lifting that shit wholesale from the G.I. Joe movie, and you replace the president. Boom, you won.
But they're not about continuity, because have you seen another Pretender since then?
Nope.
Because it just worked for the time that they wanted to use it, and then that's it. They don't even care.
And that character had no like explanation or any. I don't even think it had any lines. She just looked hot, and then you saw her tongue do that thing, and then it attacked Spike, and then got killed, and that was it.
So Michael Bay said she deserved an Oscar, basically.
Pretty much.
Wait, remember in the third movie when you finally see Megatron, he's got that big ass gaping hole in his head, and those little things crawling out of it.
Those little
things came from.
Deals. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, like squished one and shit. Like, obviously they're like parasites or whatever, but where the fuck did they come from?
Yeah.
Was he already infected with that shit?
Cosmic rust.
The HIV? Like, what the hell? Like the Decepticon HIV? It didn't make sense.
That's what the cosmic rust is.
God, that episode was so weird.
A communicable disease.
Yeah, that episode was fucking weird. With the rust and everybody's turned into like a zombie and shit. Like I remember, I didn't remember seeing that one as a child. I saw that once I owned the DVD, set, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like that one actually like bothered me because I'm like, how did we get here? Like, what is going on here? But
wasn't that a two-parter?
I want to say yeah.
It could be. I can't remember.
I think it might have been. But
oh no, I'm thinking of the one where they got infected with something and it turned them all red, and they were like super evil.
Yeah, I don't even remember that one. That might be
because it was just after Optimus Prime came back.
Oh, that's I got you. That's one of the second generation.
Yeah, second generation 2. Yeah, gotcha. Like a 2 or 3 parter.
Yeah, it's weird. Generation 2 has always been painful for me to watch. Like I've watched parts of it, but man, like sitting through some of those episodes is fucking torture because they were just stupid, like just plain stupid.
And
like,
animation wise, some of them were like really, really struggling.
Oh my god, a lot of them. A lot of them, man. Same thing with G.I. Joe. Fucking when Dick took over, shit was terrible. Dick. You mean Dick.
Someone was drawing with their dick
yeah,
on those cells.
Exactly, because some of that shit was just, ooh, it's bad. Like, the intro is not as bad as I remember. Like, in my mind, like you were talking about with the Yoda thing, in my mind, I remember the intro being horrendous. And then when I watch it now, I'm like, man, there was actually some cool shit going on. Like, a lot of animation going on in that intro. It's just a fucking theme song. Good God. Got to get tough. Yo, Joe. Like, oh, God. That shit was terrible.
The song was amazing.
He said, you got to have guts and stand for your rights.
Man, the Transformer movies remind me of that episode of G.I. Joe where that director was trying to film the G.I. Joe movie, and they would show you like different. He would have them act out different scenes, but none of the scenes ever felt like
they didn't connect,
like they linked up or had any kind of continuity.
Yeah.
Like I need you to swing from this vine in this jungle, and then the next scene they're like in a city dangling from like a fire escape or some shit. Like none of that shit made any sense. Yep. And even as a kid, I was like, what kind of movie is this?
Yeah, I know. I wanted to see what it was, or at least an idea of what it was going to be. You know, at the end result.
I'd like to thank the people that made this all possible. My mom and my dad.
Oh man. Yeah.
Mom and dad. And
I know, right? Your mom and dad. He was so pissed.
Let me at him.
It's weird because like there's a simplicity about, you know, even though we've mentioned all the deep, like, you know, like backstories of all these characters and such, and how, you know, there's interplay between a lot of the characters and, you know, their history and such. There's still a simplicity, like a surface level simplicity that they could have actually focused on, and that could have made those movies work, you know, like from, like I said, a simplicity kind of standpoint. But instead, they just ignored all of that shit. They ignored everything. Like the simplicity that's in the films is just terrible. It's like surface level shit that every whack movie has. You know what I mean? Like fucking Cade Yeager. Like that's all I gotta say. Cade fucking Yeager. Like you failed.
Cade Yeager kills more Transformers in this movie than possibly Bumblebee.
Yeah. Good God.
With a gun that didn't make sense. Like, what was that gun doing on that ship that it was that small that it would fit in a human's hand? Like, they haven't established the mini-cons or anything yet.
No, because Gunhead said that he traps everything. He traps all kinds of shit. So, like, he could have been to a different solar system and, you know, he did that shit there. He got that weapon from there.
Here's an interesting tidbit. Apparently, the collective budget for the 4 movies, according to Wikipedia, so take with a grain of salt, is about $750 million.
Jesus.
$3.75 billion in profit. So they made 5 times. They brought in 5 times what they made to make them.
Yep.
Oh shit! There we go. Oh, Bumblebee spinoff is scheduled for 2018, and a 6th film is scheduled. Oh my god, 2018 and 2019. What the fuck? Like, does the fun ever stop?
Oh Lord! You should see my face. I'm crying.
Christ, man! Remember when Bumblebee, like, you know, talked through the radio, and that shit was just stupid for a whole movie, and then they gave him like a sensible voice at the end of the first one,
and then forgot about it.
Yeah, they completely forgot about it in the next film. Like, nope, nobody likes that shit.
Him talking by radio was great, except when he's like quoting movies. I'm like, wait a minute, it's the radio. Flicks, what is it? Quoted like Big Lebowski, quoted like a couple other movies. I'm like,
yeah,
radio, which means
radio.
music and possibly radio commercials, not just whatever the hell you want them to say.
But apparently the lowest common denominator doesn't pay attention to that. And you know what I think is really funny is that, you know, I say that and I use that term, and, you know, I've heard other you know, reviewers and, you know, people say this, you know, because sometimes you say this about wrestling. You know, wrestling appeals to the lowest common denominator. That's what it's there for. It's that base level. You want to see some shit go down. You don't need a whole bunch of story. It doesn't need to be the best story if you get any. It just needs to happen. Okay, fine. When you come across the lowest common denominator, they don't like to be referred to as the lowest common denominator, and they fight you tooth and nail because, you know, you're calling them the lowest common denominator. But it's like, dude, you literally played to type. Like, you literally played into some of the dumbest writing. You've paid over $1 billion collectively to make a franchise that has like third grade writing, you know, a script that feels like it was written by a third grader, you know, who saw a handful of films, no, a handful of cartoons and was like, I can make a movie. I can write a movie, and literally did it, you know, and you guys literally paid for it and took that, all that information in and made that shit make fucking, what'd you say, $1 billion, over, what is it, 6 billion or something like that? I think it's like $6.1 billion.
About 3.7. So they put out 750 million to make them. They've made 3.7 billion back. So it's something. So they've literally made
up to which movie?
5. They've up to, that's the first 4.
Oh, okay,
so far, what they make the first 4, they've made 5 times that.
Jesus Christ!
I know
that.
Right? Imagine how much of that is cocaine.
I know, right? Oh Lord, I don't know. Shit's frustrating.
Yeah, there's a better breakdown here, but it's like, wait a minute. I just want to see if there's like hope for like, you know, diminishing returns.
No.
Wait. There might be.
No. What, the toys? Because nobody was buying them shit here.
No, I mean,
that's not true. There's fucking cybertron.com, and those motherfuckers were buying everything.
No, I'm talking about here in like Columbus.
Oh yeah.
Like so many, like that last movie, nobody was buying those toys. Actually, the I think even the third movie too.
Yeah.
I saw so many of those toys just peg warming, and I remember even Target had a huge sale immediately after the movie came out because none of them shits were moving at all.
Yeah, I remember.
Man, you were not kidding about that either. They do have a closer breakdown, and Age of Extinction and Dark of the Moon, like the U.S. box office for Dark of the Moon by other territories. No, the territories are a lot. Well, I get that. And then like the Age of Extinction, it almost made 4 times in other territories. And it keeps going. The U.S. box office actually keeps going down.
Yeah.
Made 402, Revenge of the Fall, and Dark of the Moon made 352, and Age of Extinction made 245.
Wow.
So I don't know what that means, per se, because 245 million, probably.
No, yeah.
But when you spent 210 million to make it,
yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like government math. Like I don't know what's good or bad. And most of the numbers are imaginary to me.
Exactly. So, we've never seen that kind of money ever, and we probably won't.
That's what I mean. Like, hey, okay, so we made the money back, so that's good, right? Like, not if you're expecting to make like, you know, triple. Like, oh, okay, well then I guess be mad. There's something I don't know, but yeah, man, I just don't understand why the people making these believe that if they made something that was closer to canon, that more resembled what all of the established lore and fiction mythos of this series was up to this point. If they made something that looked like that, why are they convinced that wouldn't sell? The whole reason why you're making these is because of the name recognition for the people that remember this shit when they were young.
Yeah, or still collect all that shit now, you know.
Still into it now, and I'm like, and they go see this, and it's like, why is Optimus Prime screaming about like killing folks? Why is he shanking a dude in the neck? Why
is he ripping faces in half, ripping
like,
people's
as
faces
I
off
remember.
and shit? Like, what the hell is that about?
Literally, yeah, he literally shoved his knife under someone's jaw. Whatever, he's a robot. I guess he has a jaw, and like cut his face off. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. You saw his eyes dangling and shit. Like somebody put a YouTube video together of all of Optimus Prime's kills, and they were so over the top. I had forgotten how violent he was in those movies.
Yeah,
and when you see them one right after another, you're like, holy shit! Like like he fights like a Decepticon.
Yeah. He's just down and dirty. I'm like, damn, man.
No, he be murdering.
Yeah, like you see him throw that punch, and you see the brass knuckles
just
that are like spikes and shit come over his knuckles, and he just clobbers the whoever it was he was hitting.
Yeah, or like when he ripped Bone Crusher's face in 2 parts.
Yeah, with those hooks.
With the 2 hooks. Like, why you got hooks?
Yeah.
Why you got meat hooks? Why you fighting with meat hooks, man? Like, come on. Like, seriously. Like, someone really doesn't get who Optimus Prime is.
But I think, wait, did they mention something about remember, more than meets the eye, like he did have that energy axe, but that was also because Megatron had an energy fucking mace, or mace, and like, it's just it. And trust me, axe way less intimidating than a fucking mace.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like, still we were on equal footing there.
Yeah.
And again, the leaders up against, so it was literally like a power struggle. Like you didn't really know who was going to win. You knew Megatron was badass. You knew Prime was badass. So it was equal. Like Optimus against friggin' Bone Crusher. Like
somebody's gonna die.
Yeah. So I've been waiting to see. I got to say that.
Yeah, it's strange. It's just,
But just come up with, even if it's just like something that looks a little closer. Like, again, you have no evidence that it won't make money. Just sit down and read the entire like initial run of comics, or the entire like Dreamwave / IDW run. Just pick a story. Shit, do the goddamn Last Stand of the Wreckers.
Yeah,
I know
do that. Do a story that actually focuses on the Transformers and their motivations and what they fucking want.
Yep.
They're the star. They have hopes and dreams and wants and desires because they have personalities just like us. That's why this whole thing worked.
Exactly.
All those years ago. So don't think, oh, it's just big robots. We got to have the people there to let them know what they would know. Like Optimus Prime wants back to Cybertron. He wants to help heal his planet. That's his motivation. Instead of like fucking like wrapping his arms around the leg of every fucking human he sees.
Yeah.
I know, right?
It's like, no.
I mean, he's always had compassion for like humanity, but it's retarded in the movies.
It's like, hey, no. I've known you 30 seconds. You can't die. He could be a serial killer for all you know.
I know, right? He could have been the worst individual on the planet. You're backing him like he proved himself or something.
It's like, yeah, he's an inventor. You know why? Because he's fucking Jigsaw. He's inventing like traps to like, punish people for all you know. Is.
Yeah, man.
No, I must save you, Cade.
I know, right? You deserve to live.
So again, something a little like develop them as characters. Well, now that's what I was going to say too. Speaking of all of like of Prime's like brutalities, I didn't notice it at first. In that at least in the freeze frame for the trailer. And I looked at Prime's face. I'm like, wait a minute.
There's like blood on the one side of his face.
It's smeared on his face.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They don't bleed.
Yeah. It's like It's like paint. It's like one side's got like blue paint, and the other side's got like red paint, and he's got like his face is all silver. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Whoever's
He's finally starting to kill people now.
yeah, I know. He's
Like,
embracing it. All you
crime go
motherfuckers are
hard.
gonna die.
I'm like, unfortunately, that means you, Bumblebee.
I know, right? Your ass is mine, Bumblebee. Like, it just, I don't know. It really feels like they completely ignored, like, I don't know. If I'm repeating myself, we're repeating ourselves. They've ignored everything. It's just, that's the long and short of it. They've ignored everything. And that's sad. It shouldn't be like that.
Because I remember even watching the fourth movie, I probably said this before, or probably on the damn video too. A dude was working with me over the summer, and he was like, "Yeah, he was good for like the first hour, 45 minutes, and then what did he tell me about the movie when we left? It was like I fell asleep, and I woke up, and they were fighting again, and I fell asleep, and they were fighting again. Yep. Like I don't know why, but it was like every time that's all I remember, and I'm like,
that's all they did.
It's like, and even the way that like the shots are done, like the way they literally shoot a battle. Like, I have no clue where anyone is and where the bad guys are coming from. People just appear, and then they just get shot. The worst example of that was, what was that? The Revenge of the Fallen.
Yes, when they were running around the pyramids and shit, and it's like, wait, what? Why don't you transform and drive me across the battlefield so I don't die? Remember?
Remember the three, whatever, I think it was 2 or 3 Transformers showed up. It was like, Sam, come with us.
They got killed. Like,
you don't know who the hell. And they turned around and they just get blasted. I'm like, wow.
Shit was weird.
It was feel something.
I would say the action, the directing has gotten worse as the movies go on. The second movie, when they had that chase scene on the highway, it was actually, parts of it were actually really cool. Like when Bumblebee transforms and jumps over.
That's the third
whatever one. It was he was jumping. No, that's the third one?
Yeah. You're talking about when they, well, there was a highway chase. I'm pretty sure there was a highway chase in the second movie, but the third one was the one when they had the weird battle mode where they were like expanded and the guns were popping up.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's that one then.
Yeah,
like the battle mode shit was kind of odd because I'm like, where did all that stuff come from?
Well, they never used it.
You only have so much space.
Yeah, but
it was extended.
Everything transformed.
Like missiles in the wheels, and then like he had that super mode from Knight Rider.
Super pursuit mode, yeah, man.
Yeah, all this shit was just coming out of nowhere. I'm like, well, where's the people fitting into all this?
For those of you keeping track, that's the second Knight Rider reference tonight.
I know, right? Michael.
Yeah, that scene was actually slick, and you saw the Decepticons running, and they were like high stepping and flipping over the highway signs. I was like, damn, this is actually. I'm mad that I actually like this.
Well, it didn't go anywhere.
I hate this movie.
It didn't go anywhere. That was the problem. It didn't go anywhere. Just like the best thing, one of the best shots was when I think it was Ironhide ran into 2 of the minions, and they like flipped, and I expected them to like transform and land and slide back like in Justice League, you know, when 2 real powerful people kind of punch fists and then there's a big explosion and they slide back. Like, instead they just fell down. I was like,
like they transformed and like fell into shit.
Yeah, like it was so like you were onto something and you just completely didn't push it. Like, why is it that they treat Transformers like it's separate from the same concepts that make the Fast and Furious films work? Like, you literally have Fast and Furious plus giant robots because the giant robots turn into dope-ass vehicles. You even took it a step further by making them turn into fancy high-end vehicles as opposed to them just turning into, like, you know, shitty, easily disguised, you know, or easily ignored vehicles that, because they're robotic, can move faster because they're actually Transformers. They have different capabilities. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it should be. That way we can be like, damn, that fucking chase scene was amazing because you used a shitty fucking Prius, but the Prius was moving at like, you know, like 200 miles per hour or some shit. Like, that's the way it should be. But they
should be tougher than
exactly.
Just because they take on the look of a car doesn't mean they take on the actual physical properties and integrities of those vehicles.
Exactly.
That's what would have been cooler if they had done that with Bumblebee too. Like if they had given him like a small, like some sort of small whatever hatchback or like some sort of coupe, but they gave him the capabilities of a Corvette. I'm like,
that would have been dope.
Like you see him pull, like you see him pull up to like a sports car or something like that, and like guy looks and he fucking like turns his nose up, whatever. He's driving a Porsche, and that fucking and then Bumblebee like hauls ass.
Yeah. Yep. He should have been something tiny like a fucking Matrix or a like a Vibe or something. Just like the figure, the toy, the Generations Classics version. How he was like kind of a Matrix.
That's it was a hatchback.
Yeah. That's what he needs to be.
Well, like you said, you don't have to tie it to like the literal performance that those cars have because they're not that car. It's just a disguise. They're really a fucking highly advanced robot.
Yeah, I remember the cartoons when they showed the Stunticons for the first time. You saw them like jumping off shit just to jump off and crashing into stuff. I was like, now imagine you do that in a live action movie. Like you have Motormaster like jumping off of shit and then fishtailing his trailer into stuff and like everybody's like hitting stuff and like crashing, but they just keep on going like because they're doing stunts. Like that shit would have looked dope.
Yeah, the stunts were badass. I was hoping again, like they halfway did that story too in the fourth one.
The Stunticons.
Where it's like, we're gonna make our own, but we're gonna make like our own group of cars, which almost would have made sense if that was literally the plan.
Yeah. I agree.
For us, robots from space, so we're gonna make our own. We're gonna kick the Autobots off, and we're gonna make some for ourselves.
That would make sense.
If you want to still use, Megatron's brain to power them or something, that's when they turn bad. But they're a wholly separate entity. It's not like this is the new Megatron. Like, no, you have Motormaster.
Yeah, that would have made sense. But they didn't read that far. They didn't watch that far, nor did they read that far. That's why.
Like that's what killed me about that. Because, dude, you were so close. Honestly, even if you would discover that by accident, you were so
so fucking close.
It's like I'm like that would have been awesome. Like so they think, oh, good, we got our own car force here, and we'll be able to control them. We got the kill switches here. They're all set. They're all set. We don't have to worry about and then they just break free. And you need the Autobots. Yeah. I'm like, the hell, man. That kind of hurt my feelings because they were almost there. Yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, they still make money. It's said international audiences are still eating it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, until somebody says you know what, maybe we should not.
Well, the thing is,
maybe we should try hard. Maybe we should try. Literally, I know we should try harder. No, maybe we should try.
Actually, try. I think the strange thing is that fans are starting to catch on. They're starting to see that they're being gypped. They're starting to see that the films are just so fucking lackluster that it's getting to a point where maybe, I don't know if it'll be soon, but maybe in a few years, maybe soon, maybe I should say sooner than later. Maybe they'll stop supporting these films so that we can actually get better quality films. Because I mean, this shit's piss poor. I mean, any way you look at it, it's just piss poor storytelling. It's piss poor consistency when it comes to your story. And you at least respect the audience that you've now culminated. You fucking have people that want to watch your shit. At least respect them and tell the story in a convincing manner. You know what I mean? Don't just put shit in the film just to put shit in the film. Don't give us MacGuffins with no payoff. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, what you say it does, make it do it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like it's that difficult of a thing for them to actually follow through on. You set up something, okay, deliver the payoff, because your audience is stuck with you all this time, you know? But these are the things, this is where, you know, it's your writers having contempt for their audience. You know, you see it now, it's just blatant. Like Transformers that don't even fucking transform. I mean, it's kind of like Hasbro's been doing that shit with their toys, because, and there's a couple third-party companies that do it too, where they're making these Transformers that don't transform. They're posable as shit, you know, and they look nice, but they don't transform. Like, that's what makes them a Transformer, hence the name. You can't possibly forget when you're working on a Transformer that it needs to do one of two things: be a car and be a fucking robot, because it has to transform from one thing to the next.
It needs two modes and needs a way to get from one mode to the other.
Exactly. Yeah. You already know what I'm going to say, so. This shit really boggles my mind, because we're not paid to do this. We get nothing from doing this. Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. But these points that we're making should be like on a giant fucking cork board or dry erase board in the office of the guys making this shit, so they never forget this stuff. And yet they forget this stuff. Like Robots in Disguise, it's the tagline of the series, and it has nothing to do with any of these films. The disguise part is like a novelty. It just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the films, you know, in the plots of the film.
It's like the robot mode is just like an easier way to get from point A to point B, except when there's a cooler way to get from point A to point B, like riding on the back of a dinosaur.
Yep.
Oh, the Dinobots disappointed me so much in that film.
Good God. And people still try to use
have
that.
lines. They just grunted, and they were basically like shiny cavemen.
Yeah.
It's like they were fucking game changers when they showed up in the cartoon.
Yeah.
Absolute game changers. It's like, okay, we need something to fight Devastator.
Yeah.
Devastator. Like, that was like, we need something else, something new. And I'm like, even though Devastator showed up because of the Decepticons needed something to fight Omega Supreme.
Yeah. I know somehow he was as big as Omega Supreme, which made no sense.
Yeah.
Like, they're all not as big as his foot. Like, again, those damn Pym particles, man.
I know, right?
It's like they transform and they get bigger somehow.
That's been a thing throughout the series from the beginning. The scale issues, man. Oof. Why did it get silent all of a sudden?
I know, because it started to, like, your voice started to do that distortion thing, and shit. I couldn't tell what it was you said.
No, they started to
Auto-tune.
I know, right? No, they started to have problems with scale all throughout the series. There's lots of scenes where, like, you know, Optimus be walking near Bumblebee and he's shorter than Bumblebee, or like, you know, someone's head would just disappear into somebody else's arm, and then 2 frames later it pops back up on the shoulder, like on their shoulders. It's like there was some issue with the cheapness of that film or that series. I don't know, but scale always suffered. But
yeah, they never do the city-sized Transformers right, even in the comics.
Yeah,
like if you transform into a city, then you transform into a robot, like ginormous, like even in the game, like they show, like in the cutscenes, they show how big he is, and he looks right. Metroplex looks right, but in the game, I know they have limitations with, you know, graphics and whatnot, but he wasn't as big as he kind of technically should have been
in the game.
Like, yeah, like I'm talking like he should have been even farther back, but still very visible.
Wait, what?
Like,
because I don't think that the city is that big. Like, it's not. He connects to the city, but himself is not like. He doesn't make up the entire thing. At least that's what I saw in the books. Like in the comics, it always seemed like parts of Cybertron connect to him when he transforms into city mode. But then when he turns into the robot, then he disconnects from the surrounding city, and like pretty much the central portion of the city is the robot.
No, he's a city-sized transformer. Like especially in the IDW books now, because Cybertron is still, it's not dead anymore, but it's not isn't like terraformed to where it's habitable for Cybertronians. So like they built a city, but then Metroplex lands and they end up living in Metroplex.
Oh, so that's IDW. I'm talking about before IDW. It always, even in the cartoon and shit, like it always seemed like he connected to, like he was a piece of the city, a smaller city in the middle of, how do I put this? The central portion of a bigger city. He wasn't the whole city.
That's what you mean.
Because yeah, like even in the game, and in the game is the best depiction to me of how all this shit works, and he seemed like he was connected to the city, and then when you activate him, he disconnects and transforms. He still takes up forever. I mean, Optimus Prime was like smaller than what would have been a fingernail on that guy. And Optimus Prime's ginormous in the games. He's this big ass like clunk of armor. And, he was tiny compared to fucking Metroplex. So, shit, even Megatron. Megatron wasn't even a stain on his fist when he gets killed.
I know, when he pounded him.
Yeah, that shit was awesome, man. God, it was awesome. Like, it's one of those moments that, like, I don't understand how we got that. And the movie can't follow that. We couldn't even get half of a movie that was that. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But
some of those examples from the friggin' whatever
Studios
games. I'm like, their stories were so good they just kind of got accepted as canon.
Yep, they sure did.
Or just your story just kind of there.
He's T-Rex.
What happened?
Awesome.
Oh no, that guy, the director. They always called him Teague or whatever, and every time you talk about Grimlock, he'd talk about him as a space T-Rex. He's like, how awesome is it to have a space T-Rex? I'm like, dude, I get it. You're trying to sell the game, but stop saying space T-Rex. It's like it's getting corny now.
Yeah, you're making me not want to buy this shit.
Oh. Are you ready for the space T-Rex?
Yeah,
my body.
And Grimlock is one of the most fun parts of the game.
Yeah, that whole portion of the game was fun. Period. I don't know.
What?
I think we've said for this chunk, we've said as much as we can say for this Transformers portion. I think the rest will be said during the watching of the films with the drinking and the the swearing and the frustration, because I'm kind of I feel like we haven't done a lot of movie stuff, and this will be the movie thing to kick off doing a whole bunch of movie shit. And we gotta. You didn't go see John Wick, did you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No.
So the next week we can try to check out John Wick, and we'll do our review as we normally do with the good action films that come out, and we'll let people know what we think about it. I mean, you already know it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fucking nuts. So be prepared.
Yes, that movie, good.
I'm glad. I'm so glad too.
We can just accept this being garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I don't know. I think that's about it. Unless there's another topic that you guys want to jump into, well, at least for a little bit. We're about to hit the 3-hour mark, and I didn't expect this to get that far. I say we're done right now. I say that's it. We'll save the rest for the next video. We don't want to wear out our welcome.
We'll we'll go point by point in later videos, like you said, when we do them, we actually watch them
and tear them apart, because that's gonna happen.
the horror for ourselves.
So I guess that is it for us. You guys have been great. And peace outside.
Later.